Yahoo $1 million tournament over there with no management fee. And I've got 6 guys for you to help you get a piece of that big prize pool. Who am I rostering on Yahoo? Belly up to the fantasy bar and find out. Welcome in, guys, again. Football is back, and so happy to be back here in the Fantasy Bar. Another season for us, and little quick housekeeping note, we will do 1 Yahoo video per week and 1 video with both FanDuel and Draftkings in it. So you get 2 times the fantasy goodness here in the Fantasy Bar every single week. So stay tuned for that FanDuel Draftkings video later on this weekend or early next week. But wanted to put the spotlight on Yahoo here, and why a $1 million tournament. And people always say, Beer, we got to have some level playing fields. Well, we have that over on Yahoo. 10 max entry here. Beer, we need a fair level prize payout. We have that here in this tournament. A easy buy-in of $25 can fit a lot of bankrolls. And no management fee, no rake. Every single dollar that's put in this tournament is going back to the players. 25% of the field will be paid out, and no subscriptions, none of that. Just money in and money back in your pocket. So a great tournament over there on Yahoo. Make sure we get over there and support them. Now, I'm here to support you guys and give you some plays for that game, but stay tuned in the video here. We're going to have a little giveaway. We're going to have a prize. Somebody's going to win either some swag or maybe a little free subscription. So, got to pay attention to the picks and keep an eye on things later on in the video for that giveaway. Now, let's lead it off here at the quarterback position with Lamar Jackson, $26. So way too cheap here. You know, a Miami team that's really struggled against quarterbacks over the last few seasons. We'll get to that in a second. But Lamar Jackson just gives you such a safe floor. 16 or more Yahoo points in every single game that he's ever started, including that playoff game against the Chargers, which was ugly to begin with, but got it going there late. Anyway, gives you the floor. I think the upside will be there as well. We know he can run the ball. I think you're going to see a dramatic step in this guy's passing game here in year 2 in this system. And again, Miami about the best matchup we could ask for. We're bottom 10 against both the run and the pass. Did not make any significant upgrades to that defense. So Baltimore should control this game from start to finish. A big reason why Lamar Jackson, way too cheap in my opinion here. A great buy low at $26. All right, let's go to the tight end position next here. We're going to go a little bit off the radar here with Austin Hooper, $13. So Hooper's a guy I'm really looking forward to this season. I think he's another breakout candidate for us. Started to see some signs last season, but really a monster in the red zone. 7th among all tight ends in red zone targets last season. Those 13 targets were 2nd on the Atlanta Falcons. We know they don't like to throw to Julio Jones when they get close. They like to throw to Austin Hooper, though. In Minnesota, great defense. You're probably thinking, why the hell are we targeting the Vikings here? Well, yes, the Vikings do have a very good defense, but against tight ends, not so much. 30th in DVOA last season against the tight end position. I think you can see some scoring in this game. I think Austin Hooper going to find the end zone here. We're going to call our shot. Love this price, and I don't expect any ownership on him this week at just $13. All right, let's stay in that same range price-wise. Wide receiver, D.D. Westbrook, just $15. So huge total in this game, 52-point total, second highest total on the board behind New Orleans and Houston. Vegas obviously expecting a shootout with Kansas City in this game, but let's not discount the Jacksonville side of things. I think there's some very intriguing options here with Westbrook atop the list for me. I know the Chiefs will be a very popular stack, even against a difficult Jacksonville defense. Westbrook makes for a great run-it-back option. What do I mean by that? When you stack up a team, you want to include a player or two from the other side to make it a true game stack. I think Westbrook, Fournette, another guy I really like in this game. But Westbrook is $15, way too cheap. We talked about Lamar Jackson being too cheap. Westbrook's cheap across the entire industry. Look over at a site like Draftkings, under $5K here on Yahoo at just $15. So it's definitely been one of the biggest risers in my rankings all offseason long, and definitely a guy that did not get priced appropriately. Take advantage while you can here with D.D. Westbrook at just $15. All right, let's get some running backs here. Let's spend some money on Chris Carson, $23. So Seattle, big home favorites in this game. That's always a very profitable spot 4 running backs. The team can control the game most likely and lean on their running attack, and we know Seattle wants to do that anyways. So with the Seahawks playing with a lead against a Bengals team that finished in the bottom 6 in the league in DVOA against the run, I think Chris Carson, one of the best bets on the board to not only score a touchdown, we're going to go big here. We're going to call 2 touchdowns for Chris Carson. Great spot for him here against a bad defense. Huge favorite and a great price on him as well at $23. All right, moving back to wide receiver. Pick number 5 for us here, Chris Godwin, $20. Now this guy, everybody's talking about Chris Godwin for good reason. The guy has always performed when he's gotten an opportunity. Deshaun Jackson's been hurt. Godwin has stepped in and for the most part performed in every single game except one. Now we have no Deshaun Jackson. Now we have no Adam Humphries. It's going to be Mike Evans. It's going to be Chris Godwin. It's going to be O.J. Howard really dominating targets here in an offense under Bruce Arians that I expect to be very aggressive, especially pushing the ball down the field. And Arians came out earlier in the offseason and said this guy's never leaving the field, and we've seen that through the preseason. They have not lied to us here. The guy has pretty much been on the field for every single play with Jameis Winston, and San Francisco's defense among the worst in the league, 27th last year in DVOA against the pass. I think this is going to be a shootout here, a very stackable game on both sides, but Chris Godwin playable in cash games, tournaments, any format. Really love this spot for him to get this breakout campaign going. Chris Godwin, one of my favorite receivers on the week here on Yahoo at $20. All right, it's time to take a look at my favorite play. But before we do that, guys, a couple things. I want to know who your favorite play is. Get in the comment section right below the video. Let me know who your beast of the week is. Also, while you're there on YouTube, need a couple things, guys. A, subscribe to the channel. Then you'll know when the videos are coming out. B, I need you to hit that thumbs up button. Let's see how many thumbs up we can get on the video. If you're enjoying your time here in the Fantasy Bar, that is the tip jar here. So go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. And contest time. Whoever can come the closest to fantasy points on Yahoo for my Beast of the Week is going to win 1 free week of RotoGrinders Premium. If you already have that, we will send you a free RotoGrinders t-shirt right to your front door. So all you got to do, again, get in the comment section, have to comment below the video. Don't send it to me. Right below the video, how many fantasy points for the Beast of the Week. Who is the Beast of the Week? Stay tuned. Let's get to it.
Merry Christmas, everybody. It's here. We finally made it. It's first NFL Sunday of the season. And of course, Sunday morning, you know what that means. It means it's time for a little bit of wood. We got Tony Nias and we got the Hoopster joining us. Oop, congratulations on getting out of bed, man. What's up?
Glad to be back in the saddle. I had to call in the reinforcements week 1 of the season. Looking forward to it. Like I said, man, it's been a while since the Hoopster's been here, but got my boys calling and had to get back, so I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun.
Yeah, we sent up the hoop signal. We also, of course, sent up the big T signal. Tony, good morning, man. How we doing?
Oh, I already got a little Woodrow here. Woodrow Wilson looking at the Hoopster. I haven't seen him in a while.
That is a fresh shave on Hoop. Like, he swears it's not fresh.
I'm telling you guys, so Hoop can't grow a beard in case you haven't noticed, and so I have the fortune or misfortune, I don't know, but I only need to shave like literally probably twice a week and stays looking fresh.
That must be nice.
But it's crazy because I'm hairy everywhere else. Like I have the hairiest legs and arms and other places.
We saw you jumping in that pool. That was freshly shaven, I think. Like, shaving everything. I like the we already got a good question on the chat. Hoop, over under 5 missed shows this season.
Whew, that's a fair number.
5's a terrible number. You're not getting 5.
Yeah, I'd say 3.5 is probably a 3.5 is a pretty fair number.
You're good for two a year solid. I mean, between 2 and 3 is 2.5 is the sharp number.
Tony's giving me a lot of credit here. A lot of credit.
I mean, you're old. You don't drink that much.
I was drinking last night and I made it, so I'm 1 for 1.
Yeah, they're asking what these chat, man, they just don't know, Tony. They're asking who's
they can't be telling them either. They gotta figure, if they don't know by now, then they don't know.
That's true. Y'all gotta figure it out. We got CSU in the chat. We got old Big Daddy Britt in the chat. It's a good time over here. Guys, we're going game by game. We're going to be talking today's slate, and we're going to be, answering your questions. Of course, if you got questions as we go on, go ahead and throw them up in the chat. We'll get to it.
Before we hop in, I was thinking this morning of my favorite times on the show, and just my favorite things that would occur. And obviously, I think number one on the list is the backwards Blues hats that grandma bought you, right? I mean, that's amazing. And the fact that you're not, don't wear it on week one. I'm so no.
Terrible hat.
All right, you keep talking. Hold on.
Get the baby. We need the baby size snapback. That's number one.
We don't need the terrible fitted hat. Get that out.
No. The kid size Blues snapback that had about a 2-inch gap. And there's no chance of it closing. That's what we need for sure. Wait for him to get back. Let's see.
There it is.
Now
we can play.
Now it's officially NFL season. Let's go. Did one of the snaps break off, or is it just tucked back there?
The snap definitely broke off.
Right? Oh, even better. Yeah. Even better. And then so that's number one on my list. Number two would be, I think every week Tony would try to come up with one of these min-price value guys that, he was sure was going to be a lock to do something. The guy probably, more times than not, 0 touches. So I know that's coming. I know who the guy is because we already did the podcast. Talk about that. And then one of my favorite memories is I think every week we'd be talking about, it would probably be about 2 or 3 players. And, Crane, you'd be so convinced that these guys are going to be chalk, and I'm pretty sure their ownership would be 5% or less.
That's my favorite part every week.
Is that your favorite? I love it.
It's always this guy's going to be
chalk.
And it's a 3% owned guy.
So I hope we have more of those starting today.
All right. Well, I think their first game, we're going to find somebody that's definitely going to be chalk. Let's talk Atlanta at the Minnesota Vikings. And here, Hoop, since you're just sitting there giving me crap right now, I think Dalvin Cook is going to be chalk. I feel is Dalvin Cook going to be chalk?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't disagree with that one. But I'm telling you, if I don't get a 5%er chalk comment from Craig, I'm out.
He does it in baseball, too, when we're on XM. He'll fire it off.
Dude, I feel like everybody – I know all the good plays, man, and I just feel like everybody knows all the
Everyone knows them.
Yeah, so what are you going to do? Anyways, Hoop, I know you're playing a lot of cash games today. Dalvin Cook's got to be a staple of your cash games, right?
Yeah, just a phenomenal – everything just points in his direction. You have the fact, first off in preseason and training camp, all the talk that they want to #establish the run, and that appears to be what they're going to do here this season. A lot of, what do they call it, 12-man personnel or whatever. So double tight end, so Tony can play Irv Smith and watch him get.
Are we talking about my boy before it gets?
Tony can play.
Rusty on shows.
Tony can play. Tony can play Irv. I gotta steal it.
That's terrible.
So that's gonna be the 3K play that we can laugh at Tony about next week. I'm saying
you're going to be taking it today. You're not even going to make it to next week.
Everything. The matchup's phenomenal for Cook. Stephon Diggs a little bit dinged up, and when he's dinged up or on the injury report, his results have been pretty poor. So, everything leads to a real good game for Cook, and not to mention his price tag is very affordable, basically on every site that you'll be playing on today.
Yeah, so Tony, when we look at Dalvin Cook, obviously he's going to be really popular everywhere. I'm still having trouble fading him in tournaments. What about you?
Yeah, he's definitely the best play of the week, I think. It's just a matter of, what you want to do with your teams, I think. And we need to – have we heard about Diggs yet? We haven't heard anything, right?
He's going to play. I would be
for
stunned.
Sure.
I would be stunned if he didn't play.
Okay, so I hope he plays for Cook just because it gives more weapons, opens up more stuff. But either way, I like him. He's right in that range. Great play. I don't like the passing game as much as other people. Besides Big Irv Big Irv might catch the first touchdown of the year. I mean, Irv he's a legend.
You're bringing Irv Smith up on the first game of the season.
You're the one that brought it up first, and then Hoop ruined
Well,
I
knew where you were going.
You don't take that hat off.
The hat anymore.
No.
You don't get the hat
Not the terrible hat. No one wants to see that terrible gray fitted hat. Put the good one on.
That's awesome, man. That's my favorite hat.
I just went Limp Biscuit.
Yeah, these things happen.
Game one, that's not good.
Hey, I mean, if you're holding the wood for longer than 20 minutes, you really got some issues there. At least I
don't ever hold it for more than 20 minutes. I mean, it doesn't last as long as it used to.
The chat says, imagine fading Diggs because he missed practice on Wednesday. I'm not fading because of that. I'm fading because they're going to run the ball a million times, and I'm just going to play Dalvin in the running.
Well, I mean, that's a pretty ignorant comment based on history, because anytime he's on the injury report, he typically does not perform pretty well. So, I mean, you can obviously make a case for him in tournaments, but it's a risky play, I think.
All right, on the Falcons side, a lot of mouths here. Obviously, Tony's going to like his boy Judge Ito. That's just how it goes.
CSU needs to not talk trash here. He's just talking trash. Come on, CSU. Send CSU the link. Get him on this show for old time. Send this guy the link.
I want to lose his mind. He'd be like, I do not have a fourth screen set up right now.
No, I mean, we got to get him on. I mean, this guy, he takes all my money on the golf course, hustles me. Now he's talking trash about me not knowing freaking Diggs it. I mean, just because you got Schefter texting you freaking CSU. Don't be freaking talking trash to me.
Oh, that's too funny. All right. Falcons side, Tony. I'm all in on Julio Jones today. I love the guy. What about you?
Yeah, I like Julio. He's definitely my favorite Atlanta guy. I'm not going to be all in on him, but I like him, especially on the Cook teams, just to run it back with something. I don't hate Devontae, too. I don't think anyone's going to play him.
All right, so I'm really just I'm not on Devontae, though the price tag is appealing at just 5.3K. Hoop, what do you think about this Atlanta side?
Yeah, I mean, I like this game in general. I mean, in terms of the total, it's a tier below I think the three highest games are 50 and above. So this is a tier below, which, outside of Cook, I don't see anyone being super popular. So, I mean, I don't mind, like I said, stacking this up and, running it back with Julio. I don't think he'll be popular. And, on all those Cook teams and tournaments, it's a good idea, obviously, to have someone from the other side, Cook, Ridley. I don't mind Freeman either. I mean, if the reports are right, and he gets all the work, and if they're playing from behind a little bit, I could see a lot of dump offs to him. So I like the game in general. Probably, like I said, outside of Cook, I don't see anyone being super popular here.
You don't think Julio's going to be 30%?
No way. Nope.
All right. Yes. All right. Let's move on to the
Ravens. Let me guess. You did.
Just saying that he should be more popular than he's going to be. He's going to burn Xavier Rhodes today. All right. Let's talk Baltimore at Miami. Totals 37.5. Baltimore 6.5 point favorite. Tony, Lamar Jackson. I know you always love Lamar Jackson. Is this one of the weeks you're going to be playing him?
Yeah, I don't necessarily love him this week, but again, I'll talk about it all year. But quarterback, I don't ever overthink quarterback too much. Kind of just put it in the stacks or put it where it fits. I think it's so spread around at quarterback that you don't really need to overthink it. I don't hate him. I kind of like this game as a sneaky, if you're playing 150 teams, play 5 game stacks of this. If somehow Baltimore gets a lead with the running game, maybe Fitzmagic sprays it around a little bit. I don't know. I just have a weird feeling this game, someone wins $1 million with some crappy guys.
Oh, boy, I better go back to bed. Jeez.
Really? Hold on.
Anyone can say Dalvin Cook.
This is not the big
I love Dalvin Cook. I love
the lowest total on the board. Let's stack it up, boys.
Where are you, Tony? Where's you're going to stack a 37.
Yeah, thank you.
Total.
Thank you.
It's week 1, and you're already stacking a 37.
What did I say? I'm going all in on it? I said 5 of 150, boys.
Oh, my God.
That's 5 too many.
Yeah,
that is not.
How are you going to win $1 million, Hoop? Dalvin Cook and win.
I'm going to tell you how I'm going to win $1 million.
Not playing Minnesota. Who?
You'll see. We're not there yet. So when we get there, I'll let you know. Maybe. I don't know the way you're talking. Maybe I won't let you know.
This game
you let me know.
Hoop, do you want anybody in this game?
Come on. Tony's been pounding Vegas his entire DFS career, and we get to the second game on the board, and it's a freaking 37.5 Limp Bizkit total, and this guy's pumping it up. I mean, get out of here. No, I mean, the only play in this game is Lamar Jackson. I mean, maybe Mark Ingram's going to have a big game at some point this season. He's going to have a 3-touchdown game. Like, to me, it's like him and Latavius Murray are two guys that they're going to have monster games at some point throughout the season, probably a couple. And this would be perfect. I mean, if you know what the Ravens want to do on the road, if they get a lead, they're just going to run the crap out of the ball. And if Ingram's their guy and he gets, 20 touches, he could have big games. I don't mind him in tournaments.
Where do I bet over 37.5? I mean, I want that line you guys got.
There are a lot of places on the internet you can bet that.
I mean, it's 40 right now, so let me know when I can get 37.5.
It's 40?
It's 40.
Yeah, let me know when I can get 37.5.
Moved up to the second highest total on the site.
I just want to bet your guys' spreads. Tell me where I can get those numbers at.
Right here. I'll give you the 37.5.
I'm in then. Deal.
Yeah, it is up to 40.
First bet of the
where's this number pulling from? Yeah, that's way off. So yeah.
I'm looking at the RotoGrinders page. So
that's what
I look at actual sports books, boys.
Well, I'm going to blame Dean. How about that?
Yeah. I agree with that. I concur.
Blame Dean.
All right. # Dean did it. All right. Let's talk about the Titans at the Browns. 45.5 total, maybe. Cleveland, they are 5-point favorites at home. Hoop, let's talk about this Cleveland side because Nick Chubb's going to get some ownership. Odell, I don't think, is going to get enough ownership. And obviously, with Beckham coming there are a lot of mouths to feed in Cleveland. Baker Mayfield, I think he might have an MVP caliber season. What do you think about this Cleveland side?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of hype around Cleveland, season long, and rightfully so. I mean, their offense is positioned to make some big strides. I guess their team is positioned to make some big strides this year. And it should start week 1. I mean, the Texans are obviously not a super fast-paced offense, but the Browns are going to come out and look to put up some points here. I think the 5.5, whatever the spread is way too low, and I know Tony's going to make the argument. Well, they've gone 8-8 and 9-7 for the last 5 years, so they got
9-7. Don't be making fun of me.
So they got to be decent. I'm not buying it, and I think this is a big mismatch. They lost like one of their key offensive linemen. So I love the Browns, and like I said, that to me the number's a little bit weird if you're betting on games. But Chubb will be right there with Cook as the most popular running back on the slate across the board on every site. And I actually agree with you on Beckham. Like, he's going to be too low owned, and one thing that helped his ownership is that I think it was Thursday or Friday when they said, he hasn't been able to full sprint, or not buying any of that, and I think that will decrease his ownership. So I think Baker Odell is a stack that throughout the course of the season is going to be very popular, but for week 1 it's definitely not going to be popular one bit. So definitely like that in tournaments. The problem is when you look to run it back with someone, there's just not much there for the Titans.
Yeah, the Titans are just the Titans don't exist to me on this slate. They just don't. Tony, which crappy guy are you going to make an argument?
I mean, I'm just making fun of you guys a lot. This total's 44.5. 44. I mean, but it's just it's such a good game compared to that 40 total.
I didn't say it was. No one said that.
I don't love this game.
Cleveland sucks.
What?
Today, I should clarify today. I don't mean on.
I was going to say I was going to pull out the sheet. No,
I like them for the season. I phrased it wrong, but I do hate them today. Like, this spread is so fishy. I'm never going to like a fishy spread. Only 5.5 at home. Yeah, I just don't like Cleveland much today.
All right, so are you just fading this game completely, or are you just
think I am?
Yes. I do I will say, I like these cheap, crappy receivers. I think might crush it. I like Rashard Higgins in some tournaments today. I think he's a 3.2K if you want a dart play on a guy who's going to be 2% owned. Or I'm sorry, maybe he'll be 1% owned, and I just screwed it up.
Higgins, I think, is going to actually be more popular than that.
Really?
I mean, I'm not saying he's going to be 20, but I've heard his name's been a bunch. He kind of pops in some of the value things. If I was going to play anyone, it would be Higgins, though. I like that price.
All right, let's talk
about Njoku. I kind of like Njoku just a little bit, like as a filler type tight end if you need one.
All right, that's I'd rather play Hunter Henry for $200 more, but I understand what you're saying. All right, let's talk Chiefs and Jags. 51.5 point total. Kansas City 3.5 point favorites on the road. This is my favorite game of the week. And Tony, we'll start with you on the Chiefs side. Obviously, this running back situation I'm not messing with today, but the passing game I have a lot of interest in. Tony, what do you think about the Chiefs?
Yeah, this is obviously kind of the key spot of the day, I think. Everyone is kind of looking at this game both directions. Basically, everyone's in play for this game. But I don't know. I'm kind of banking on Jacksonville holding up here. I like Jacksonville. We did obviously the Print Factory, me and Hoop and Third and Schlong earlier. We all like Jacksonville. I don't know if Hoop still does, but I still like Jacksonville. I don't know. Like the spot looks tricky, but I mean, Jacksonville's got to show us what they look like. I mean, they're going to be a new team this year. Hopefully they hold up. I'm fading Kansas City for the most part. Obviously that's risky, but I think I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm looking at this Kansas City team, and look, last year, Jacksonville, they shadowed Tyreek Hill with Jalen Ramsey, and they kept a guy over the top of him. I'm not messing with Tyreek Hill here. I like Travis Kelce, of course. I think the middle's going to be open for him. I like Sammy Watkins a lot in tournaments. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes, the fact that he's going to be under 10% is really interesting to me. Hoop, what do you think about the Chiefs side?
Yeah, the Chiefs, I mean, it's a rare situation where they're not going to be mega chalk on on a DFS slate. I mean, throughout the season, basically, last year, for example, I mean, these guys were mega chalk for the most part, week in, week out, and because of the perceived tough defense of the Jaguars, it's going to keep their ownership down. I do agree with the Tyreek Hill. I mean, they obviously did everything in their power to take him out of the game last season, and that kind of worked. And I think he had 4 for 60 or something in that range. But that opens things up, I think. I mean, if this game does end up shooting out, I mean, Kelce, even Sammy Watkins, which is weird to say, I think are in play. The running backs, just don't have any information. Obviously, for cash games, it's a wait and see approach. You can always make the argument in tournaments for these guys. But I mean, maybe we get news, prior to lock that, McCoy's not going to be heavily involved. And if that is the case, I think Damian Williams is a phenomenal play, especially on DraftKings, where his price is pretty cheap. I still am on the Jaguars. Yeah, I mean, me and Tony kind of talked about it. I do like them today. It's kind of unfortunate, though, that it sounds like they're going to be without a couple offensive linemen, which is a big deal. And, slight to moderate downgrade. But I'm still on them for the most part. Nick Foles, I think, is in play on FanDuel at 6.5K. I mean, you got a close to minimum price quarterback in the second highest total on the slate. And I like Nick Foles, or BDN as Tony likes to say. Not allowed to refer to him as Foles. So BDN. Fournette, I'm buying Fournette.
You're allowed to call him by his actual name. You don't need to abbreviate.
Yeah.
Go straight for the kill. Fournette, I'm on. I mean, this season, I think he has a really nice bounce back season this year. Should start week 1 here in a perfect matchup, really. And I mean, the Chiefs defense is a tale of two sides last season. I mean, really good at home, really bad on the road. They're on the road. We'll see what they do today, but I'm gonna buy into the historical data on that. And yeah, I'm on this game as a whole on the Jaguars as well. Like I said.
Yeah, this is the game that I've been stacking a ton. And you mentioned Leonard Fournette. I'm still convinced he's going to get hurt sometime soon, but he ain't hurt yet, so I'm going to be playing him today in D.D. Westbrook. He's going to be somebody that's going to be really popular. Of course, Nick Foles loves to throw the slot. D.D. Westbrook's going to be running in the slot. Chiefs not good against the slot. Tony, I assume you're on the Jags side. You like Fournette a lot too?
Yeah, I like Fournette. I mean, Cook, Fournette, and Carson obviously are 3 right in that same price range, right in that same ownership type plays.
How do you rank those guys?
Do what?
How do you rank those 3?
Probably Cook. I mean, they're super close for me, but probably Cook.
I guess Carson, and Fournette. Who do you like more?
I mean, they're so close. Like, I could tell you one, but they're basically the same play to me.
Yeah,
I think
maybe Fournette by a hair, I guess.
I like it's Fournette by a lot for me.
Okay.
You don't like Carson?
Nope. Nope. I'm off of Carson today. So when he rumbles for 4 touchdowns, you guys know who's not going to be doing well. But yeah, like a guy like D.D. Westbrook, he's going to be chalky this week. I'm looking at projected ownership. I want to hear what y'all have to say. He's going to be chalky. And Tony, you're shaking your head no. And
I just don't understand how people can play this high on D.D. Westbrook.
It is weird. Like
I was excited
about D.D. when I thought he was going to be like 8%. Now that I'm seeing he's going to be double that, I'm a little uncomfortable with it.
I think he could be higher too. Like everyone loves D.D. today. Like everyone.
This is like the love for D.D. today started in freaking early August when everybody decided to start playing him in season long, and now it's just sort of rolling over from the season long draft crowd. And it's like I like D.D. I'm not sure I like 20% Dede, but if you're game stacking it, I'm not really sure.
I think it's a perfect example. Like, if we thought he was going to be low owned, I would probably like him a lot. But I don't know. Like, I don't always think you need to fade the chalky guys. Obviously, in football, like, some good chalk. But Dede Westbrook, I can't imagine is good chalk. I just don't like it.
I've been actually – we're not quite there yet, but in 2 games we're going to talk about another guy that's going to be chalk. And I cannot wait to talk about this guy with you, Tony, because yeah, he's going to be really popular.
Is it Irv Smith?
It's definitely not Irv Smith. All right, let's talk this next game. Washington at Philadelphia, 45.5-point total. Philly 10-point favorites. And Hoop, everybody seems to love Carson Wentz today, and I guess I get it, but I'm just having trouble figuring out who on this Eagles team is going to get it done because they got like a million guys who can score. What do you think about this Eagles team?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously I'm super high in them for the season. Just as a team, I think more so. In terms of DFS, I think they're going to be a frustrating team this season. Yeah. Just because all the options. I mean, maybe we get some clarity, a few weeks into the season or get an injury and, a couple of these guys stabilize, more secure roles. But it's going to be a frustrating year in terms of, stacking the Eagles. I think they just have so many options on offense, so many things they can do. And I'm just finding out they still have Darren Sproles as well, which I'm kind of surprised about. So they have just so many different ways to go, so many wide receivers. Still have Ertz. You have Goddard. If you're stacking the Eagles, I mean, you better have a strong conviction or be building a lot of lineups and kind of mix and match all the different combinations. That being said, I think Wentz is a fine cash game quarterback in tournaments, so it's going to be harder to play him and know who to pair him up with. They just, like I said, just so many different options.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with Wentz. I don't know who the hell to play with him. I don't mind some Deshaun Jackson revenge, but Tony, what about you? What do you like about? Are you playing Wentz today? Are you pairing him with anybody? What are you doing here?
So I think this might be my favorite spot, actually. Okay. I love Wentz. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think it's going to be an issue pairing him because I think he's going to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns, so he's going to hit a bunch of guys. Deshaun Jackson, though, is my guy for sure. Like, he's 4,500. You got the little revenge angle, which I like. I just think Wentz loves to throw that deep ball. I think it's going to be a perfect match. I think he breaks too deep to the house for this price point. What was our boy Dede's the same price, right?
Dede's actually 300 more expensive.
Yeah, like I just would rather play Deshaun every day of the week. I think Wentz those 4 touchdowns, so I'm all about Wentz. Even in like cash, I think you could just play him naked in cash and freaking on the wood.
I think that's okay.
I get a little excited. In tournaments, though, I'm going to pair him with 2 pass catchers and take my chances. One of them is going to be Deshaun.
Washington, I know none of us are going to like Washington guys. You can play the Eagles defense a lot. I will say here, cheap wide receiver alert number 2. I think Terry McLaurin is a little bit interesting for Washington.
I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, who is that?
He's going to be their number 1 wide receiver. It's not going to be Paul Richards.
McLaurin? Who? His name's McLaurin?
McLaurin. He used to be named Lauren. He worked at McDonald's. They named him McLaurin. He's 3.3K over in Draftkings. Going to be less than 1% owned.
Oh, I thought you said he's going to be super popular.
You should have. You needed to let him walk the plank.
Yeah.
Well, he already sealed it and finished it off with less than 1%.
McLaurin, I never even heard of this dude. Where's he from?
That's like
Ohio State kid, I think.
This is like a Tony mention, not a Crane mention.
McLaurin?
Yeah.
McLaurin?
No, I'm telling you, he's gonna be their number 1 receiver. Like,
but if you're a number 1 receiver for the Redskins, I mean, is that what you?
Dude, don't you remember I played Josh Doxson every freaking week last year?
Oh, I got sucked into that a couple times.
Washington is who even plays quarterback for him?
Case Keenum until he gets like killed in this game, then it's going to be Dwayne Haskins. Yeah, but I'm telling you, with no Jordan Reed there, they're going to have to be throwing a lot. McLaurin's a guy who's got some speed. The Ohio State kid. I just think like he's going to be their number 1 receiver. He showed a lot of practice. They loved him in practice. So yeah, I think he's interesting. All right, let's talk Rams and Panthers. And 49.5-point total. The Rams are 2-point favorite. That total's gone down. And this
doesn't know anything about the slate. I'm dying. The chat's the best because I don't know who McLaurin is. I don't know anything.
Yeah, we're getting pounded about not knowing McLaurin. Jesus.
Hey, it's CSU giving me shit though, so that's got to be good. That's good.
How do you not know who he is? This is your job. Come on, Tony. This is your job. Get your shit together, bud.
You can tell, though, the guys who have been doing best ball drafts since freaking May.
Been drafting McLaurin and best.
Well, I've been doing them since freaking May, and I've never heard of the dude.
I've got some 17th round McLaurin, yeah.
Oh, God.
All right, let's talk Rams and Panthers. 49.5 point total. Rams 2-point favorites. Hoop, this is what I wanted to talk to you about because Curtis Samuel is going to be really popular at 4.2K. He does seem too cheap, and we talk, a lot about guys like D.D. Westbrook, for example. If he's going to be popular, I want to fade him in tournaments. I feel this exact way about Curtis Samuel. Hoop, I assume you're playing him in cash games?
He's in the conversation, but there's just so much value. So many cheap guys. So I don't know if I will for sure or not. But he's definitely on the list.
Okay, so when I look at Curtis Samuel in tournaments, Tony, what do you think about him?
Yeah, it's another discussion just where kind of like DD, where you just have to weigh if you like it or not. Obviously, I think Cam's awful, so I don't necessarily need it, but I get the price. Like, the price is just so cheap that you can definitely make a case for it. But if he's going to be 25 to 30% owned, like I think he will, I just don't think I need that. Like, I like other cheap receivers. I don't want to trust Cam Newton.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. Chris McCaffrey, though, somebody we can trust. And this is going to be every slate, man. Yeah, of course you can play Chris McCaffrey. He's a great player every single time.
Yeah.
Said it. Done. On the Rams side, nobody's playing Todd Gurley, Tony. Nobody's playing him. Big total. He's a favorite.
I'm not playing him.
You're not. I'm willing to roll the dice on a few lineups on Gurley, man. Like, it's a high total.
You're the one that told me he tore his ACL. Is it better now?
I know that in the Super Bowl, his ACL is hurting. I know that. Full off season though, the fact that he's going to be
healed.
The fact that he's going to be under 10%, I've got some interest, man.
What did he heal it with?
Free voodoo magic. That's what he healed it with. Hoop, what do you think about? Hoop, what do you think about this game?
There's no way Hoop likes Gurley.
No, definitely not on Gurley. Won't be playing him at all. But this is a game, I think, right here. I think this is the winner. I think Mr. Newton comes out showing that he's fully healthy. And, a couple of these pieces will be high owned. There's different things you can do to stack up this team. You can go Cam and kind of fade Christian McCaffrey a little bit. Even, Greg Olsen is a cheap tight end. But the Rams side is going to be unowned for the most part, I think. And you have three solid wide receivers. You can go with Goff as well, who historically hasn't been great on the road, but this is still a really good offense, and they can put up big numbers. I think this game's the shootout here. And, one side's going to be completely unowned. So, like Cooks, Woods, Kupp, I really like in tournaments. I wouldn't mess with any of the running backs and just kind of hope that it's a shootout and both teams are throwing the ball quite a bit. So I think this is the winner. There's your $1 million, Tony. Lock it up. Mr. Newton. How great would that be? Week 1 of NFL season, Tony wins the $1 million with Cam Newton, the number one Cam Newton hater around.
I'd be a fan if he won me $1 million for the
Mr.
rest.
Newton gets it done for him.
I'd buy a jersey.
But it's like you get the Rams. Another situation. We talked about the Chiefs. The Rams offense last season, very popular offense in DFS, going to be pretty unowned, and they were, top 5 offense in football last season.
CSU just says, "I hate Cam. OMG, big T." That's too funny.
CSU needs the link. I would. Oh God.
So wait, hold on. Am I the only one crazy enough to play some min price Panthers defense?
Well, I'd be willing to endorse any min price defense. So no, I don't think you're crazy.
I think you're crazy.
All right. Speaking of low scoring games, let's talk Bills and Jets. 40.5 point total. The Jets 3-point favorites at home. I kind of think the Jets are going to kick the crap out of the Bills today. Tony, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, it definitely is an ugly game. I think you can always look at Josh Allen. I don't know. He's got the rushing upside, kind of like we talked about last year. But it's ugly. If I was going to play it, it would kind of be like the Miami game and just game stack it and hope somehow it breaks loose. But I don't like it. It's just an ugly spot. And there's some unknowns. Like, we just don't know what Lev Bell's going to look like early on. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't need to. If I was going to play it, it'd be Brown and Allen for sure. I think that combo is going to look good this year.
Yeah, Brown's really the only guy I'm interested in this game. And I think, of course, Josh Allen loves to throw the deep ball. The Jets get beat deep. That's what John Brown does. I have some interest there. we should talk about this Jets side because we've had a lot of Le'Veon Bell questions in the chat. I am totally off of Le'Veon Bell today. I want nothing to do with it. Hoop, are you interested in Bell or anybody else from this game?
No. I mean, I like the Jets. I agree. I think the Jets pound them here. Well, I mean, not necessarily pound them, but they win and cover the spread. I don't like a lot. I mean, it's just a nasty game, low total. I think, honestly, my favorite play might be Jamison Crowder. Look good in the preseason. Darnold's looking to him quite a bit. Darnold likes throwing to the slot guys. So I like Crowder. I mean, he's cheap, 4.1K. Could rack up 6-7 catches, and that's all you need. So outside of him, not much for me here.
I wanted to stack this game, and then I looked into it, and I'm just like,
there's nothing.
Let's talk Bengals at Seahawks. Seahawks, big-time favorites at home, 44.5-point total. And I think this is a sneaky spot this week. I like Russ. No, just silence, nothing. I'm not going to get anything. I do like Russell Wilson this week. Chris Carson's a guy that's going to be really popular. I'm fading Chris Carson. I kind of did a deep dive into this Bengals new defensive coordinator. They are really going to try and stop the run. They're running some 52 defense. They kept 11 defensive linemen. Like, they really just want to do nothing but stop the run this year. And that's kind of why I think the play might be to play Russell Wilson, some Tyler Lockett. I even don't hate DK Metcalf today. Tony's just smirking like he thinks I'm a moron. Tony, go for it.
I don't even know what. I mean, you better strike gold in those 12 passing attempts.
Dude, he's gonna pass more than 12 times. I'll take over 28 passes.
I mean, they're gonna be up like 28-0. He's not gonna be out there slinging. What number did you just say?
28.
28 pass attempts?
Yes.
I mean, I will gladly take the under 28.
Thank you. Free money for Big T. Appreciate it. We've seen Russ put up these FU games at home when they're big favorites against these crappy teams. Every season he does it a couple times. Why can't it be week one?
I mean, he doesn't even have who's even going to throw the ball to?
DK Metcalf.
The dude is an offensive lineman. He's going to throw to an offense. He's got another. The only reason they drafted him is because they wanted 7 offensive linemen to help block for the running game.
Hoop, be the voice of reason, Hoop.
Well, I mean, I like Russell Wilson season long, but this spot doesn't appear to be the greatest. And is it supposed to rain? Looks like the weather calls for some rain.
It's got a little lightning bolt there. I don't know.
It always rains in Seattle.
Yeah, it does always rain, but I don't know. I can't imagine the Bengals having like this amazing run-stopping defense this year, unless I'm missing something here. I mean, your deep dive. Maybe you found a gem hidden in the rough, but I'm on Carson. I'm on Lockett. I mean, even if Russ does throw it limited number of times, like, you have to imagine most of them are going to Tyler Lockett. That's about it. I don't know. This game, gross, I guess.
Well, you're playing a lot of cash today, of course. Is Chris Carson going to be a core piece for you?
Yeah, he's in the conversation. I mean, there's 5-6 running backs that are way too cheap, so he's there. It's just a matter of finding what fits. But I don't know, who else are they going to use at running back? I mean, Penny's looked terrible, and it's got to be Carson. I don't know, but maybe they abandon the run and go pass heavy here.
Hoops, he's like, I thought you were going to keep a straight face for a second. I thought you were going to do it. Maybe they out of the run and go pass. He starts laughing at me. Too funny. All right. I know I'm on an island there. It's all right.
No, it's all right, though.
All right. Let's talk Colts and Chargers. Andrew Luck, of course, not there. 44.5-point total. The Chargers, 6.5-point favorites at home. And Tony, I think if you get the Chargers right, you're going to be sitting pretty this week, but they're another team that's kind of tough to get right. Austin Eckler, Justin Jackson, they're going to be splitting carries. I'm surprised to see Austin Eckler projected to be over 15%. Keenan Allen, not going to be owned. I like him. Mike Williams, not going to be owned. I don't like him. Hunter Henry, I think, is somebody that is just way too cheap. And the fact that I don't know. People hate Hunter Henry. I like him, though. Tony, what do you think about this Chargers side?
Oh, cold hose. That's good. But I mean, I like the Colts to win, so I don't like it.
Oh, whoa.
Okay. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, I just think the Colts, I think they regrouped a little. I think they match up good. I don't know. I don't like the Chargers that much.
Okay, you're just talking about the Colts regrouping. I actually think the over for the Colts season when it dropped to 6 is one of my favorite bets on the board. But all right, you don't like the Chargers. I'll go to the Hoopster. Hoop, what do you think?
Not a great game overall. I mean, I talked about it on the podcast. Whenever the Chargers are like decent favorites, I just don't have much interest because it just seems like, as I said, no numbers to back this up, but it seems like they pull the plug, well before any other team in the NFL. Like, end of the third quarter, they'll just yank their starters and you don't even know the guys that are on the field. So it always scares me when they're like a touchdown favorite, which they are here. That being said, I think the prices for some of these guys are cheap enough to consider. Like Henry on DraftKings, I'm guessing will be one of the most popular plays on the slate. Austin Eckler's cheap enough on DraftKings where I think he's in the conversation as well. But overall, like I said, the Chargers scare me a little bit here.
All right, so Tony, if you like the Colts, I assume you're going to like some of these guys. Who are you playing from Indy?
No, I mean, I definitely don't like Indy either today. I think this game's going to be the definition. I think this game's going to look like the Packers-Bears game looked with a lot of D, ugly. I don't like any plays in this game.
All right, well, let's move on to the game where everybody likes all the plays. San Francisco at Tampa, 50.5-point total. San Francisco 1-point favorites on the road. Hoop, let's start with you with this Tampa Bay side. The nice thing about Tampa Bay is you know where the ball's going. They're not going to run the ball. Peyton Barber's not going to be getting 20 carries. Ronald Jones isn't going to get 5 carries. Dare Ogunbowale might get a few catches in the backfield, but he's not somebody I'm playing today. It's Mike Evans, it's Chris Godwin, and it's O.J. Howard. Hoop, talk to me about these Tampa Bay wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the list of these starters, or I mean, not starters, but these guys at the skill position on the RotoGrinders page makes me like the Bucs even more. Peyton Barber, Jones, running back, I don't even know how to pronounce his name.
Dare Ogunbowale.
Yeah.
Dare.
Pierman, Justin Watson, Bobo Wilson. Yeah, I mean.
Bobo, they got a dude named Bobo?
Bobo Wilson. He's 3K, so it fits your mold. There you go. I mean, they're not going to be able to run the ball. I mean, just an atrocious running back core. Evans, Godwin, a lot of hype around Godwin. I think rightfully so. I mean, I think he has a big season. All the production. Last year, when they were limited, it's just always good. I mean, when Deshaun Jackson was out last year, that guy always crushed. So really like him. I think he's more popular. So I like Evans in tournaments. I think like Winston, Godwin will be popular, but I don't necessarily think Winston Evans will be as popular. So I like that in tournaments. O.J. Howard, like you said, I think he's going to go overlooked just because
dude
from both the sites.
Okay, if I was doing this show and hadn't had this conversation with Hoop before the show where he was like, oh, you think this guy's going to be popular, I would have thought O.J. Howard would have been like 25%.
Nah.
Dude, the fact that he's 5K is like criminally low. He's going
to be low. I mean, because, people will either pay up or go way down to like Hunter Henry. So I think he gets lost in the shuffle.
O.J. Howard should be like 6,500 on this slate. 5K is a freaking bargain, man. Like, I love O.J. Howard in this spot against Sanford. Tony, what do you think about this Tampa side?
Yeah, I love this game. I mean, I know it's chalky, but like I said, and I'll always say, like, you don't have to fade all the chalk. Just find some other spots. This is chalk I'm definitely going to eat. I love both sides of this game, though. I think San Francisco moves the ball good. I feel like Tampa Bay every year, this is just a complete Big T fact. Could be completely wrong, but I feel like Tampa Bay shoots out early in the year every time. Like, they usually play the Saints, I feel like, and get into, like, just a massive shootout. And I think this is going to be a shootout, too. Like, I don't see either team stopping the other. O.J. Howard has to be, like, my favorite play of the week. I mean, he's just going to crush. I don't know how he doesn't crush. Same with Godwin. So while they're chalky, I hope they stay a little bit under what they have. I mean, I just love it. And I love the San Francisco side too.
Well, hold on. Nobody's going to play Mike Evans?
No, I mean, he'll be owned, but I just think that the ownership between Godwin and Evans will be pretty substantial. I think Godwin will be way more popular than Evans. I guess I'm trying to say, right? I mean, I think that's
it's definitely going to be the case. I just think that if Evans is going to be lower owned, like I'm seeing Evans projected like 13% right now.
Yeah, that's too low. I mean, that's way too low. Yeah.
All right, Tony, I know you like the San Francisco side, and I don't know who the hell to play here. You got Breida, you got Coleman, Pettis, Goodwin, Devo, Kittle. Like, all these guys are in play, and I hate spots like this because I never know who to target. Tony, who are you targeting on San Fran?
Well, I mean, you got to start with Kittle for sure. I think Kittle's going to definitely – I like the teams, too, where you play Kittle and Godwin – or Kittle and Howard together, because I just don't think anyone plays two tight ends, which some weeks it's not right, I don't think. But this week, I think you can just because they both have massive upside. I like Pettis, too. I think there's been all kinds of chatter, Pettis, like with all the Shanahan talk, that he needs to do this and that. I think Pettis is going to have a monster year. I think he could crush today. And then both running backs. I like Coleman and Breida. I think they split the carries or close to it. They're both too cheap. They're both going to crush. Basically, I like everyone in this game. I mean, there's no one I don't like.
Yeah, you mentioned Pettis. I think that's the guy that I'm really going to. I've heard some Marquise Goodwin talk this year. Maybe I just had PTSD from last year, but I just don't think I can do it with Goodwin right now. Who do you like on the San Fran side?
I mean, definitely Kittle. Not as high in the running. I mean, just because, I don't know. I mean, there's just so many good running back plays on this slate. Like, I don't think you need to take a risk at the position. So many just underpriced guys where you don't need to take a risk. And to me, the Coleman Breida situation is a risk and kind of like an unknown thing at this point. So don't like the running backs, but I definitely take a shot on a guy like Pettis as well, even Goodwin. But Kittle would be by far my favorite play here on the 49ers side.
We haven't talked a lot about quarterbacks today. Tony, are you playing Jameis in tournaments?
I mean, Jameis on FanDuel, like, has to be the best play on FanDuel. DK, he's priced up, so sure. I like – I mean, this week there's unlimited value, so you can play whoever you want. I think Jameis is definitely one of the best plays of the slate. Definitely FanDuel, but DK, definitely tournaments.
And Hoop, what do you think about these quarterbacks? Like, what about Jimmy Garoppolo? Nobody's playing him at a 50-point total?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a fine play. I mean, no one's going to play him, and I agree with Tony. It seems like anytime the Bucs are in a potential shootout, it turns into a shootout. It could, like I said, I agree. I also agree in the fact that I don't have numbers and stats to back it up, but it just seems like it based on the eye test. So I like both quarterbacks, and obviously Winston will be super popular on FanDuel, not so much on DraftKings, which I think makes him a really good tournament play. I mean, I think what is he, like the second or third highest priced quarterback?
I think he's the second.
Second, yeah, on DK. No one's going to pay that price tag when you have a bunch of guys in the 5K range. That'll be, pretty popular. So I like him in tournaments on DK, and like I said, he's going to be popular on FanDuel. It's a poor price.
You're going to be excited when nobody's playing James. I don't think anybody's playing.
I don't think anyone's going to play him when he's a second highest priced quarterback.
All right, let's talk.
Every quarterback ends up 10%. We talk about this every year. Like,
it really doesn't.
They all end up the same percentage. Yeah. Like, just because everyone stacks and does stuff. Like, I don't know.
All right, let's talk Giants and Cowboys. 45.5 total. Dallas 7-point favorites at home. Of course, Ezekiel Elliott returning. Tony, if I knew Zeke was going to get his normal workload, I would love him. If I knew he was only going to get 10 to 15 snaps, I would play Tony Pollard. As it is, we don't know either way, and I just find myself avoiding this situation. What are you doing with this running back situation, Tony?
So he's given me the biggest rise of the week. Like, I think he gets the full workload. I think he's going to be unowned, and I think I'm going to play him a ton. I wasn't on him early in the week. Everything I've heard and thought about the game, like, I just think he gets the full workload against a bad team, and I think he really shows up after everything that's happened and just crushes, and he's going to be literally completely unowned. I'm all about it. I'm on the Zeke train.
All right. What about you, Hoop? Are you on Team Zeke?
Yeah, it pains me to agree with basically anything Tony says.
Agreed with everything I've said since Miami. You've been choking me off a little bit. Get me excited.
All right. Well, we got to finish the job. I mean, you can't have blood flow go unused. I mean, I agree. I think he gets the full workload here. I mean, they signed him with a big contract. As long as he's in, good shape, which all indications point to, like, Jerry Jones is not going to want him limited after giving him this massive, massive contract. He's going to want to show him off to the fans at home. I think he gets the full workload. He's going to be unowned. I mean, he's going to be unowned. I like him too in tournaments. I mean, no one's going to play him. You get all these, the mid-tier running backs are going to be mega, mega chalk. not many people are going to be paying up, and if they do, I think it's McCaffrey and not Elliott or Saquon. And I just I could definitely see him get the full workload here.
Well, you mentioned Saquon, and on the other side, nobody's going to be playing Saquon. I've seen projected ownership of 18%. I don't buy that even a little bit. I think he's going to be way lower than that. And you know, I get it because you get the Cowboys team. Some people are going to be playing the Cowboys defense. Nobody wants to play these Giants, but Tony, when you look at Saquon, is he somebody you're interested in?
Yeah, like I said, I like him a little less than Zeke, but they both should theoretically be pretty low owned just because all the value at running back. Just because, I mean, the Giants obviously are supposed to be pretty bad. I like both these guys. I don't think obviously you would play them together, but I'm fine with picking one of them on a decent amount of teams just because there's so much value out there that the teams I've messed around, I haven't built a ton of teams, but the ones I've messed with, you got enough salary to pay up for one of these guys. I love it. Like, I love both of them. I like Zeke by a hair more just because I think he's in a better spot and he's going to be lower owned. But, I mean, I have no problem with Saquon.
Yeah, you look at Boss in the chat. He says, I haven't heard a peep about Saquon all week, and I kind of feel the same way, which makes him interesting to me. Passing game. Let's talk the Cowboys passing game. Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup, I don't think either are going to see a lot of ownership. I really like Michael Gallup in tournaments. He's cheap enough at 4.3K and has a ceiling to really win you something.
No, you're just saying that to get CSU all pumped up in the chat. You know what's coming. Let's see.
That's serious right now. Yeah. Here, let me look at the build I did last night. Hold on. Click my lineups. Yeah, I had Michael Gallup as my highest owned wide receiver.
Huh. Interesting.
I'm just saying that, like, as a guy who's cheap enough, like he and John Brown, they're both the same price. I like them both a lot, but like Gallup's just a guy against these corners that could get loose at no ownership. Like, Hoop, what do you think about these guys?
Yeah, I'm not really on them. I mean, I'm not on Cooper, Gallup. I do like the man. It's just so painful that they're rolling with Eli Manning at quarterback and not Danny Dimes. Mr. Dimes needs to get out there sooner rather than later. But I think you can still look to some of the – I like the Giants pass catchers, I guess, more so than the Cowboys. I don't mind Shepard. Don't love his price. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. And I like Ingram too. I think he's in play. Should be pretty well on with the the tight end value and then, the decent spends as well. So more on the passing game for the Giants than the Cowboys.
Okay, so here's my problem with Ingram. He's $200 cheaper than O.J. Howard, and I love O.J. Howard.
Yeah.
Like, I can't play Ingram over O.J. Howard. Tony, what do you think about these pass catchers?
I mean, first of all, about Gallup, I always like to watch that Manny Laura, his shows, and he always talks about Gallup, and it's like stuck in my head where he like makes fun of him. Like, if you play, he always likes to play the number one receivers everywhere, like everyone does, but he just makes fun of people playing Gallup so much, and it just sticks in my head.
He's going to be 2% owned.
But has he ever done anything?
That's the point Manny always makes. Which I'm getting to. Like, he says every time they score, you get excited. Like, is it Gallup? Is it Gallup? And then no, it's not him ever. Like,
it's not him ever.
I don't think I can ever play him again after watching that show.
All right, well, that's fine. I'll be playing him, and I'll be printing money with him. All right, let's go to our last game of the slate.
You gonna play Randall Cobb too?
No. No, Randall Cobb. I like guys with ceilings. Let's talk Lions at the Cardinals, 46.5 point total. Detroit, 2.5 point favorites on the road, and everybody's excited about Kyler Murray. Everybody's excited about this Cardinals offense. But first, Hoop, let's go to you. Let's talk about the Lions because are you on Team Carry-On this year? Does anyone like Carry-On Johnson?
I was before the preseason started and before I sat down and thought about how big of an idiot Patricia is. And the talk is just so stupid with Patricia, like talking about preserving him for the playoff run. Like you can't talk like that unless you're the Patriots or the Chiefs or a team like that. Like the Lions freaking suck. Just play your guys. So I think there's some risk with Johnson. I mean, prior to the preseason, everyone was pretty certain after they cut Theo Riddick that it was going to be Carry-On Johnson, 3-down roll, passing work, goal line, all that stuff. And, once we hit the preseason, it, didn't look like that was going to be the case. But you never know. I mean, it's just preseason. But the fact they signed C.J. Anderson, he's getting goal line work. So, I mean, he's in play, but I just prefer all those other running backs a lot more than him.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. And I get it. You can say, up-tempo spot against the Cardinals. I totally understand that. But, maybe I have a bias against Carry-On Johnson. That's possible. Tony, what do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what you guys are saying. Like, I want to like him, and I want to like this spot just because on the surface it feels like a good spot against this terrible Arizona D. But I just get worried, and I just keep picturing C.J. Anderson scoring touchdowns.
It's gonna happen. That's like a lock.
You know he's going to get at least one today. Like, how much is C.J. Anderson?
I actually don't hate that. I
know he's going to score a touchdown. Is he 3K?
Yeah.
3.9.
I know he's going to. Oh yeah, you can't play him at 3.9. But like, I know he's going to score a touchdown though. Like, I just know he's going to troll everyone with one. I want to play these guys, but man, and this total worries me too. I should say that. Like, I feel like this should be like a higher total with the way Arizona wants to play and having no defense. But the total's only, 46 right now, 46 and a half? Like, that does worry me. I feel like it should be a little higher. However, like, Arizona's D should suck. They should be able to move the ball. I don't know about Kerryon, though. Like, I have a hard time with it, especially with how many good plays are in that same range.
All right, let's just load up on Kenny Golladay. We're all okay with that. No Patrick Peterson out there. You know, I'm not afraid of Marvin Jones stealing touches. You do not look excited about Kenny Golladay.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I mean, just look what happened last season. So they trade Golden Tate, and everyone says, oh, yeah, they're going to pepper Kenny Golladay with targets. And that wasn't the case. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think the Lions could be really bad this year. I think, what Patricia is doing with the team is like the opposite direction of what all the other like smart NFL teams are doing. He's one of these coaches, I think, that wants to try to be the smartest guy in the room, and he's not, unfortunately. So it scares me. I mean, yeah, the spot's perfect. I mean, the spot's perfect for the Lions, against this Cardinals defense that's banged up. They play fast pace offense. I just don't know. It just they scare me. I want to like Golladay. I want to like Kerryon Johnson, but all I see is Matt Patricia just kind of scooting around on his scooter and just putting the big hammer down and saying F you with the middle finger.
What about you, Tony? Any interest in the Lions pass catchers?
Yeah, like all week I've been super interested in this game, both directions, but the total is starting to worry me more and more the more I like dive into everything. I'm playing 150 on all the sites, so I'll definitely have some of this game, but I'm lower than I was originally.
All right. Now, on the Cardinals side, a lot of people want to play Kyler Murray this week. I'm not really seeing it against a team that likes to slow it down. Tony, what do you think about this Arizona offense?
Kind of just what about same as the Detroit side. Like, I'm definitely going to have some, but I mean, I really like Jameis and Jimmy G. I like them way more. I mean, if I was playing one team, I definitely wouldn't have Kyler. But if you're playing a bunch of teams, I think you need to have some just because.
How many quarterbacks are you playing?
Not me. You know me. I never play that many. I haven't even talked any up. I've talked up like 3 dudes.
Weren't you playing Fitzpatrick?
On my 5 teams.
Yeah.
Don't go back to my Fitzmagic. I can't wait till Fitzmagic wins me that cheap.
I'm only playing 3 quarterbacks, but Fitzmagic's going to be in there.
Yeah.
5 of them.
In the 30. Oh wait, sorry, 39 and a half total.
2.5% of my teams.
2.5 too many. All right. Any interest in this Cardinals offense for you?
Oh, it's amazing the total flip from all the touts and Twitter people on Kyler Murray. Remember when those salaries were released and everyone had their little everyone had their little tweets. Oh, this salary doesn't fit with the rest. Look at that. Blah blah blah. And now no one wants to play him all of a sudden. That was funny. I don't know. I mean, I think tournament for sure. I mean, you just don't know. And they claim that they didn't show anything in the preseason. Their offense is going to look totally different. All the coach talk. I guess you kind of have to say that after you look as bad as they looked in the preseason. But I guess you don't know. I mean, and playing Kyler with some of these guys in tournaments, Christian Kirk, I guess he would be the main one to pair him up with. Is definitely a viable strategy. I think David Johnson has a much stronger season than he did last year, and yeah, I don't know. It's just a tough spot though. I mean, the Lions' defensive line is actually pretty good. As much hate as I give the team, and rightfully so, their defensive line probably the strongest part. So it could lead to some trouble for the Cardinals. But in tournaments, I think Kyler and to Christian Kirk is a pretty strong stack. Nothing you want to overexpose yourself to, but some sprinkles up.
All right, guys, we got time, about 5 minutes left for some questions. Let's go ahead and throw them in there. All right, do you think Carolina and the Rams are going to be a shootout?
Oh, I said that's my favorite game, so yeah.
Yep. I assume, Tony, you agree with Hoop.
No,
No, Tony, of course, doesn't. Cam Newton's involved in that game. You think he's ever going to?
I like the under in that game.
I like the under in that game as well. All right.
You guys are no fun.
Cooper Kupp. It's nothing is as unfun as this question. Cooper Kupp or Derrick Henry?
I mean, I would never play Derrick Henry. Anyone over him.
Yeah.
Well, I love it. Like I said, I love that game, so definitely Kupp.
All right. Kupp or Calvin Ridley? I like Calvin Ridley in tournaments.
Who's asking all the Kupp questions? Is it because we're on the wood?
No, these are from YouTube. This is the dark alley questions, man.
Yeah, I mean, Ridley for me for sure.
Yeah.
I like both. I mean, I think they're both good tournament plays. I like both those games in terms of stacking them up.
Winston or Cam? Tony, we know what you're going to say. Who?
Imagine playing Cam over Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I mean, I like Winston, but I like I said, obviously I like Cam in tournaments. So
anyone that wants Cam over Jameis, just slide on in, boys.
All right. Favorite game stack? Tony, we know yours is Baltimore and Miami.
I like the what was that game? Oh, the Rams and the Panthers. Yeah,
I'm going Kansas City and Jacksonville. That's my favorite stack. All right, tournaments. Mike Evans and DJ Moore or Godwin and Tyreek. Tony, who you got?
Godwin and Tyreek for sure.
Oh, I like the other side. All right, Tony, this is another one for you. Biggest betting lock of the day.
Biggest betting lock. I like Denver tomorrow night. I'm sure that counts. My lock of the week is for sure Denver. Oakland's a disaster.
Oakland is definitely a disaster. Defense question: Jets or Broncos D?
Broncos.
I mean, I just gave the Broncos my lock of the week, so I got to take the Broncos.
All right. Am I crazy for playing Vernon Davis today?
Yes.
Yeah.
What team is he on?
Washington still.
How can he play with the other dude? What's his name? Who we didn't know who it was?
McLaurin?
McLaurin. I mean, he can't steal McLaurin's?
Not much production to go around. I think McLaurin's got it all locked up. So
McLaurin.
You get. Oh, I love. Oh, Devin, save that clip. Save that clip.
McLaurin.
McLaurin's got all the receiving upside in Washington locked up. Sorry, Vernon. Vernon's got to get an end around to get anything going.
Reach around? He needs a reach around?
Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. Guys, we got to wrap it up. But, of course, one final question.
Never wrap up the wood.
Horner Forte, season long. Hyder Forte, season long.
Horde.
I'd take McLaurin.
McLaurin for sure.
Oh, man, my Twitter's going to be so great whenever McLaurin freaking I wasn't that high on him, but, boy, I'm loading up on him.
Yeah, no turning back now.
Well, guys, I hope we got you all excited. Unfortunately, though, a little bit of cold water is coming to you next because you got Dean and two poor guys.
Oh, could you imagine watching this show and then having to watch Dean for an hour? Like,
it's a sad.
Just telling you to play everyone on the slate, just every single guy you like.
They need to rename that to the Wood wrap-up show or recap show, one of the two. Wrap up or recap.
You know, Dean's in here watching, just stealing all the info. That's what he does on Sunday mornings. Dean's gonna Dean. That's just how it is. But we got to get off here. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good luck in your contest anymore. For Tony, for Hoop, for Carlos Hyde, for Matt Forte, for Terry McLaurin,
Irv Smith,
for Big Irv, for Grandma's Hat. We'll catch y'all later. Peace.
Get it, Tony?
On the slate, and a running back I think is capable of multiple touchdowns this week. Before we get into my plays, guys, check out this awesome free promotion from Sharpside.
Get excited because it is time for the largest contest in Sharpside history with our Pro Football Handicapping Challenge presented by Vegas Insider. We will have $10,000 up for grabs this season, both in weekly prizes, mid-season prizes, and then a $5,000 grand prize winner. So here's how you get in. First, you got to download the Sharpside app. We have it available for free for both iOS and Android. Once you get registered, then you go into the app and you start swiping your favorite totals and spreads in NFL games. We'll have weekly and season-long leaderboards right in the SharpSide app so you can see how you stack up versus the competition. Remember, the most units won each week will win the weekly prize, and the most units won over the course of the entire season will win that $5,000 grand prize and be the best handicapper for this NFL season on the SharpSide app. So check it out, free to play. It's the Pro Football Handicapping Challenge presented by Vegas Insider, all on the SharpSide app.
Welcome in, guys. Week 1 edition here in the Fantasy Bar. Beers Daily Fantasy 6-pack. So excited. Football season is back, and glad to be back here in the Fantasy Bar, giving you 6 of my favorite plays. We're going to cover FanDuel and Draftkings, give you the prices on both sites, and try to give you guys them utilizing on both sites. We have a lean one way or the other. Play them on this site. We're going to include that as well. But trying to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. Now let's jump into the plays here for this week, guys. Let's start the wide receiver position with Tyler Lockett. So prices look good on both sites here. $6,800 on FanDuel, $6,000 for Tyler Lockett on DraftKings. And I really love the spot for Seattle this weekend. Great matchup with the Cincinnati Bengals. We know Tyler Lockett gives you that big playability. You know, in the passing game, a guy that can get down the field, make big plays happen. Plus, no Doug Baldwin in that offense. The receiver core banged up. Metcalf hurt. A lot of injuries there. I think Tyler Lockett really going to take a step up in his targets this season. And against the Bengals, should get off to a good start here. 25th in DVOA against the pass last season. Not a very good defense. Love the Seahawks this week and love the stack here. Russell Wilson, Lockett. If you watch the Yahoo video, you know there's some more Seattle guys I'm loving this week. But Tyler Lockett, great price this week. Under $7K on FanDuel and a nice $6K price tag on DraftKings. All right, let's go to the quarterback position. We're going to roll with Dak Prescott of the Cowboys. So $7,500 on FanDuel, $5,900 on DraftKings. And the big news this morning, Ezekiel Elliott back in the building for the Dallas Cowboys. We'll touch on that here in a second. But last time Dak played, this Giants team had a massive game. 387 yards passing, 4 touchdowns in that one. And again, Zeke back, I think, is great for this offense. I don't know that I want to roster Zeke at that high price. Maybe a little bit rusty. I'd rather take the wait-and-see approach on Zeke at that lofty price tag. But Dak certainly in play in a lot of ways that you can pair him up. Amari Cooper, take a cheap shot on Michael Gallup, or we know Jason Witten loves to destroy the New York Giants. But the Cowboys in a good spot here. 7-point home favorites, projected to score almost 4 touchdowns in this one. Great spot for Dak Prescott here this week against the Giants. All right, moving on to the running back position. We're going to go with Kerryon Johnson of the Lions. So Kerryon, another one of those guys that I think is underpriced for what you're going to get out of him. Just $7,000 on FanDuel, only $5,800 on DraftKings, and there's going to be a lot of popular options in that price range. I don't think a lot of people are going to go this route, so it's a little bit under the radar here. Really looking for him to get a lot more involved in the passing attack. And I know there's been some concerns about his goal line work, about that third down usage, but I think once we get into the real thing, into the games, you're going to see that this guy's going to be more involved than we realize. And the Cardinals were pretty good against the pass, not so much against the run last season. Definitely a run funnel, 29th in the league in DVOA against the run here. Kerryon Johnson just simply too cheap, could get some big-time fireworks in this game. Love his upside at this discounted price here in week 1. All right, let's go back to wide receiver. Another big play guy I think is going to go overlooked this weekend, Marquise Goodwin of the Niners. So absolutely love this San Francisco-Tampa Bay game. I think there's multiple pieces from both sides that are going to be in play here. The game stack fully in play in this one. And I think what's going to happen here, everyone's not sure who the receivers are going to be. We've seen a lot of talk about Dante Pettis, his struggles in camp, quotes from the coach on how he's struggling. Jalen Hurd comes in with some big games. We know they drafted Deebo Samuel. Goodwin's kind of been the forgotten man here. I do think he's going to have a big role for this team right off the bat. And when you look at the deep ball from last season, we know this Tampa Bay defense is bad, but they were horrible against the deep ball as well. 7th worst in the league, and that's Marquise Goodwin's game. Getting behind the defense, making big plays happen. And I think you're going to get a lot of those big plays in this game. Goodwin at $5,400 on FanDuel and just $4,000 on DraftKings. Great tournament play for you. Cash games, I'd look a different direction. Tournaments, I'm loading up in this game, and I'm getting exposure to Marquise Goodwin and his big play ability. All right, let's go to the tight end position here. We're going to roll with Hunter Henry of the Chargers. So 6,100 on FanDuel is fair. He's the cheapest of the big 6 tight ends, but on DraftKings at just 3,900, this guy is an absolute steal. A guy I would lock in to my cash games at that price, and tournaments I want a lot of exposure as well. We know he has massive touchdown upside. This offense utilizes the tight end. Just think about all them years of Antonio Gates when Henry was healthy, all the upside he had in this offense. I think he's going to definitely provide you some big weeks. I think it's going to start here in week 1. The Colts against tight ends, one of the worst teams in the league, as you see in DVOA. I think Hunter Henry gets in the box early here in this game, but I love this spot for him. I love that price, especially on DraftKings at just 3,900. All right, it's time for my favorite play of the week, guys. But before I do that, I need some favors here. First of all, if you're enjoying the video, subscribe to the channel. You'll know when all the videos are coming out. Also, if you enjoy the time in a fantasy bar, like I always say, guys, very simple. Click that thumbs up button. Let's see how many thumbs up we can get on the video. I greatly appreciate it. And we're going to do a little contest here. If you didn't catch the Yahoo video, hey, you missed out. Go check that out. But what we're going to do here, in the comment section below the video, I need you to predict fantasy points. Not stats, not yards, not touchdowns. Closest fantasy points on DraftKings for my beast of the night here. The closest person in the comment section will win a free week of RotoGrinders Premium. If you already have that, we'll send you a free RotoGrinders t-shirt right to your front door. So, absolutely free. Comment section, fantasy points on DraftKings for my beast of the week. And while you're there, if you have a beast of the week of your own, I want to hear about that as well. Who's your top play of the week? So, before we get out of here this week, take a look at my favorite play. You know him as the beast of the week. All right, it's beast time. We need one more running back here. I'm going with Leonard Fournette against the Chiefs, this week's beast of the week. So we get a 3-down workhorse. That's right. This guy is going to be on the field an absolute ton. Who is behind him? Basically nobody. And at these prices, you're getting a nice discount off the McCaffreys, off the Barkleys. I think this guy has that same level of upside if he's going to be catching the ball, especially at that $6,100 price point on DraftKings, but even $7,200 on FanDuel. A tremendous price here for Leonard Fournette. We know the Kansas City Chiefs were absolutely terrible against running backs last season. 20 touchdowns allowed to the running back position. Leonard Fournette not only going to find the box once, going to score multiple touchdowns in this game, be involved in the passing game. Leonard Fournette, easily my favorite play on the week and this week's beast of the week. All right, guys, that wraps up here for week 1 on FanDuel and DraftKings. Any comments, questions, feedback, guys, whatever you want to talk about, get in that comment section right below the video. Don't forget, get your beast of the night in there. Get your picks for Leonard Fournette on DraftKings. Again, closest fantasy points will win that free week of RotoGrinders Premium or that RotoGrinders t-shirt. So don't forget that. If you want to throw a beast of the night pick in there, get that in there as well. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, and guys, I appreciate you stopping by the Fantasy Bar. So excited that football is back. For RotoGrinders.com, I am Beer saying salut. Best of luck. Make sure you get over and check out all the other great offerings at RotoGrinders. Everything you're going to need to get you ready for week 1. Also, Yahoo video, big tournament over there. Make sure you go and check that out if you missed that 6-pack. 6 completely different players. So giving you a 12-pack here each and every week in the Fantasy Bar. Good luck, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, thanks for checking out our videos. If you want more expert advice on DraftKings, FanDuel, or any other daily fantasy sports, make sure you check out the current videos playlist.
What is going on, RotoGrinders? Dean here. That's Dean 7904 if you want to get all technical on me. It is actually 10:12 on the East Coast in the morning, 7:12 on the West Coast. Good morning, West Coast. 9:12 Tennessee time. Of course, that means it's time for the flagship show here at RotoGrinders. It's called Grinderslive. It's sponsored by Yahoo. Joining me today, bringing the old crew back, batting first, leading off. Who's our leadoff hitter? It's going to be Grant Nevert. You might know from such things as the Absolutely Epic podcast, Monkey Knife Fight content. You probably delivered food to him via Postmates or Uber Eats or DoorDash. You know him from the Sharpside app. Grant, what's going on, dude?
Oh, gosh. I didn't realize my resume was so extensive there. Wow. I'm feeling pretty important. And I wonder how many people have actually delivered food to me that are watching this right now. Gotta assume that I'm at 500 different Postmates deliveries. So I get just odds right there, right?
I don't know. I mean, you're the guy that works on the Sharpside app, so maybe you're the one that's the best but you might kind of rig those on. I'm not really sure, but we don't have a lot of time for pleasantries, Grant. We have a full, a full slate. Lots of money we won today. Of course, it's NFL Week 1. Let's bring in one Dan and Casper. You know him better as Mr. Tuttle. His resume being, of course, that he works on Tuttle's Leverage, the core plays out there, the Swolecast, which I believe, is that free this year, Tuttle?
The Leverage or the Swolecast is, yeah. I mean, yeah, a lot of shenanigans, so we had to make it free.
Yeah, I
Hey,
did not.
Farva, what's that place with all the weird things on the wall?
Dan, of course, is still recovering from that riveting game on Thursday night. Big Packers fan. Have you come down from the excitement yet, or?
Dude, I told myself just to stop watching about 20 different times. It's just it's better just to sleep right now. And I couldn't do it. I'm like, maybe a touchdown will happen here.
Oh my
and
gosh.
No, it was bad.
I really needed red zone on Thursday night. Put Golden Girls on or anything but this football game. But,
the Badgers are doing all the scoring in Wisconsin currently, so it's all good.
Hey, we'll see you in the finals, UCF and the national championship. How about that? We're going to defend that national championship. Yes, football is back. Super excited. Obviously, there's also 2 shows behind us. If you guys are not aware, those are premium shows. We do want to acknowledge we have that badge contest. If you can win yourself 1 month of free premium, if you finish the top 10 of certain contests around the industry, Devin is going to go ahead and drop some. Drop the link in the chat for you people out there. If you're not aware, sign up for the badge contest. Just finish in the top 10. No, you don't have to be in the podium. You don't have to bake it. Just finish in the top 10 of certain contests. You get 1 month of free RG premium. And I want to give some shout-outs. We're going to give the shout-outs to people that are kind of signing up and rocking the badge. And I'm going to read these names blind. I've not seen them just yet. So hopefully there's no, Seymour Butts or anything like that. But just pulling up the names now. We got 8 Powers 93. Is that Austin? What's up, Austin? Shuff Malden, You Wish 27, Mills, Tipton 73, Robert Fizzer, and MF Moss 16. Do want to say we're sponsored by Yahoo. Of course, if you guys are not aware, Yahoo is running lots of NFL contests today, namely the NFL $1 Million Baller, no management fee, no rake, which is nice because, rake around the state, you got to be rake conscious for sure. We saw last night, what was it, 24-25% FanDuel, a small little contest for Nicole spotted that with the, download the RotoGrinders, the Google Chrome extension. It's free. It's for multiple sites as well too. Doesn't cost you anything. It'll tell you about your ownership percentages and it'll tell you about what the rake may or may not be. As of right now, I'm going to hit the refresh button, guys. 40,000 entry fees, $25 to jump in there. I believe it's 100K to first, so it's a flat payout as well. Max entry is 10. I got my 10 in there. Grant's got his 10 in there. Tuttle, after the show, you're gonna get your 10 in there?
I'm slacking. I need to up the Yahoo play, especially with this tournament.
It's got 21,200 entries out of 40,000, so barely half full. No management fee. There's really no excuse. This should be the first contest you play if you're playing DFS today. My bad, I forgot to turn my phone off. Please don't call me, anybody out there watching. All right, Grant, let's give people the screenshot, the overview as far as week 1. I always sort of say, I give the same speech. We talk about collective thought. Everybody is staring at the same slate for the last 6 weeks. We think we know. And there's a jerk right there. And, of course, it's Grant. I'm going to give your number out and do this again. The people. Unbelievable. Terribly unprofessional by me.
How you don't know how to turn your phone to silent within a half second?
It's 4 different clicks. I don't know, man. I'm multitasking.
I had a Droid.
I'm reading.
Roll down from the top, press silent. It's that simple. Or there's buttons on the side that will do it.
Whoever puts their phone on anything other than vibrate anyway.
Oh, I'm the worst. I'm going to do it in a second once Grant starts talking. But, yeah, Grant, this is the old Jon Snow speech.
That one's not me.
And I'm sure one of my friends is going to ask me about their season-long league. Do I start Forte or who's the other guy? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Grant, what are our thoughts as far as opening up the season? How are we attacking the slate? Because there's plenty of value out there, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Like, there's at the running back position, there's a whole lot of value. At the wide receiver position, there's a whole lot of value. QB has some value. Like, there's value everywhere, and so it's all figuring out who to pay up for. And then I think the right strategy, as the week moves on, I realize it's more game stacking, because people are going to go so chalky with 90% of their lineups. You just game stack with some semi-chalky players, and I think that's the way to take down GBP. But yeah, it's an interesting week, as it always is week one, and it's so hard to fade a lot of these really chalk guys.
We're going to do a positional breakdown in just a second. Of course, we're going to knock out all your questions as many as we can squeeze in before you step aside for the premium shows, which are later on today. The premium shows, of course, 11:20 in the East Coast. That's Brit, Tip and Pick, and 1 STL Cards. And then from 12:30 all the way up to lock, you got JSU Red. He'll be answering all your questions in crunch time as well. Tuttle, groupthink, it's a big deal. And you're talking about the article, you're right, it's about leverage. Cheese's favorite word for baseball. But, I always say this, we're Jon Snow. We know nothing. We may think we know. We have no idea. But, we all sort of decide this is true. But we think we're making educated guesses. And how do you leverage that, based upon ownership? We're actually going to take a look at ownership throughout the show as well. But how do you use that into your favor?
Yeah, I do think there are some pretty clear spots to use leverage this week if you want to. Grant, you already talked about it. There's going to be just some extremely, extremely chalky players. Nick Chubb, Leonard Fournette, Delvin Cook, and all these guys actually have pretty decent, leverage opportunities off them, whether they be the quarterbacks with Baker Mayfield, Nick Foles, and kind of the passing game. If you want to go that route, or Adam Thielen, I don't even know if you could call a leverage play now. He's gained some steam with Diggs kind of hobbled, but he would be another option or opportunity to kind of get off some of the leverage or get off some of the Dalvin Cook chalk if you think that the Vikings are actually going to ever throw the ball in this game. But yeah, I do think that's kind of the approach to this slate is. I think tournament play is a lot more fun and a lot more friendly on this specific slate because, on some of these sites, these lineups, these cash game lineups are almost hand built for you, where you're really looking at only 1 to 2 spots where you're actually making some decisions. So tournaments, I think, are a way to kind of differentiate, a way to have a little bit more fun on week one.
One of my issues is that, I think I was talking to Grant about this off air. Me and Grant are actually real life friends, despite the fact he's calling me like a jerk during the show, and somebody else is too. Is that Grant as well? I don't know. It's an unknown number.
Yeah. You can go to online and go to call my phone.
Why do you know every loophole to be the jerk? How can I be a bigger jerk.com?
80% of my days actually spent figuring out how to mess with my friends.
And the other 20%?
You don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't want to know.
Did you guys ever do the thing back in high school where the service for deaf people? I forget what it's like, iprelay.com or something, and basically you type in what you want the operator to say, and then they have to say that to the person that you're calling.
No, my favorite thing to do is the security questions, like make it something ridiculous. Like, what would it take for you to dip your entire body in molasses? And I say, I don't know, about $40.
I have a lot of questions, and I feel like we should have an entire podcast dedicated to this because I'm curious. But speaking of ownership, Tuttle, and we're going to start a quarterback, obviously, and you only roster one quarterback, so ownership only can get so you only get heavy. And I hear people talk about that guy's going to be chalky, this guy's going to be chalky as far as quarterbacks, and that's kind of sort of an oxymoron. I actually have the ownership projections pulled up. We're going to get a little screen share here, folks. Since Yahoo is the sponsor of the show, I have it for Yahoo prompted right now. Jimino and his team have the ownership for all the quarterbacks for every position, not just Yahoo, but FanDuel, DK, Fantasy Draft specific. The highest ownership percentage on Yahoo, Tuttle, is Winston, which, DFS quarterback, great DFS quarterback. In real life, he's kind of a headache if he's your quarterback. But, and also like DK specific, he's cracked, 300 basically half the time. Kyler Murray, everybody's excited about Murray and those legs for sure. L-Jax as well. Both those guys are dirt cheap on Yahoo. With the highest ownership percentage here is Winston, then Murray, then of course Mahomes, which is kind of tricky because you have all the salary in the world because there's so much values out there, but it's just one of the worst matchups on the board on the road in Jacksonville. Like, we don't have a huge total. Our highest total of the week, we usually would see him like last week at 57, last year 57, 58, 59, 60, nothing even close to that as far as the main slate. So like, we're just playing the quarterback we like, cash games, quarterback. It's like, I don't prioritize it as of right now as far as my lineup build. It's like whatever I fall into, whatever works is what I'm going with. I don't need anybody here.
Yeah, do they even, you're talking about their ownership projections, do they even crack 10% or anything like that?
11.9% on Winston, Murray at 10.9, yeah.
Yeah, you don't care about ownership with quarterbacks. You just don't. It's going to be spread out enough. I think the quarterback position is going to be dependent on the site you're playing at. You mentioned Winston's kind of on Yahoo is kind of cheaper. He's only $31. He's got a nice price tag on FanDuel as well. Draftkings, he's a little bit tougher to get up to. So it's just going to depend on the site that you play at. I do think there are a handful of options. I'm a little shorter on Kyler, no pun intended, than most people, I think, on this slate. But I think for his price tag, pretty much everywhere, no matter where you're playing, I think there's just stronger alternatives with higher floors. I think Murray's a fine tournament option, but he's not somebody I want to trust in cash games. But like if you're playing on like DraftKings, I think Carson Wentz is kind of the go-to option there. He's only 5,700 or 5,600. FanDuel, Jameis is a nice price point, I think, at 7,500. So I do think, again, it's just going to kind of depend on which site you're playing on. But there are some go-to options depending on that site.
What's the gripe with Murray? Is it like, Detroit is supposed to have a good defense and Arizona's offensive line's kind of rough around the edges?
Right, and we don't know what we're getting completely with Murray. There's just he's a tougher guy to project, which gives him or makes him a higher variance play. Again, better tournament option. There's just a lot of question marks surrounding him. Obviously, didn't look good in preseason, but there's been talk about almost a decoy that they're going to open things up today. So yeah, I would just feel much more comfortable playing him in tournaments, just because I don't think we know exactly what we're going to get.
Are you officially sure like who your cash game quarterback is going to be, or it just kind of depends where you're shopping as far as the best value? I know you mentioned Wentz on DK. He's got a pretty good price over there, and I was kind of jumping around as far as the ownership, and he's 11.2%. He's 5.7%. As far as tournaments with Wentz, I don't know who to pair him with because that pie, the way it's cut up, there's so many different options on that Philadelphia side. You don't know if you're going to get the pepperoni slice or if you're going to get the anchovy slice. I have no idea. So he's sort of tricky for me as far as tournaments.
Who orders half pepperoni, half anchovy pizza?
I'm saying the pepperoni slice is like chalk.
The good one.
Come on, man, trying to keep up. Anchovies and the pizzas.
Get better analogies.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad analogy.
Was it bad? Really?
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Well, I mean, I thought okay. Generally speaking, pepperoni is like a positive slice, and anchovies is kind of.
You don't like yellow cheese. You have no say in this.
Grant, who do you like at quarterback?
I mean, there's a lot to like here. I mean, there's the obvious ones. Winston is going to be fairly chalky. Murray's going to be fairly chalky. Mahomes is going to be fairly chalky. It depends on each side. Over on Yahoo, I think Kyler's probably the best option. He's only $26 over there. It's super cheap. Should have a decent amount of points here. He's going to have a little bit of a tough time going up against Detroit just because of his struggles in preseason and everything. But he does have enough weapons around him. He is in a decent enough offense. I know the preseason hasn't looked good, but apparently, from what I've heard, a lot of the coaches think that he's going to just be fantastic. So I'm rolling the dice on it. I don't really care about his decent ownership, and I think there's enough easy pairs in that offense. And David Johnson being one of them with potential to have a huge game receiving is a good option. But, honestly, the list is so long. You got Goff, you got Brissett, you got Baker, you got Big Ben over on Yahoo, you got Garoppolo, Wentz, Lamar Jackson, Cousins, Mahomes. All these guys are very much in play. I normally only stick to 4 or 5 quarterbacks. I think I have, since I have 150 entries on multiple sites, I have 25 different QBs in play.
Wow.
Or 24, I mean.
Yeah, I have a buddy that said the exact same thing. He likes to typically have a narrow quarterback pool, but he's having a tough time narrowing it down from 15, basically.
What about L-Jax? He's really cheap on Yahoo. He's $26. He's got the Dolphins and presumably they should be able to do whatever they want against Miami, who's, we suspect is in tank mode to some degree. It is a homecoming game for LJax too. He's from South Florida. I'd imagine there are friends and family lurking. Obviously, he's at the Lakes.
Narrative Street.
Hey, if that's your thing. I'm playing him a la carte, Tuttle. I mean, you're pairing him with a guy like Andrews or anything like that? Or
No, you don't have to. But, yeah, not at all. I would play him naked is the way to go, I think, with LJax. I think the hiccup on a lot of these guys that we've already talked about and the spots that I would be a little cautious, even Wentz really, but Wentz, Kyler, and even LJax, just the game environment might not be great. We might be looking at really slow-paced games like Washington with Wentz specifically. Washington, an ideal situation for them is they're just running out the clock, pounding Geist the whole game. So if that happens, then we're gonna have limited opportunities for a guy like Wentz. Same can be said for Kyler, and I think that's probably the biggest knock against him is, yes, they'll play up in pace, but the Lions play at a completely snail's pace. So I think those are the knocks on a lot of the guys we mentioned. Somebody we did not mention on FanDuel yet, who I like a lot, who's going to be playing in a little bit faster paced game, one of the highest scoring totals on the slate. Cam Newton's only 7,900 on FanDuel. I think that is a really nice price tag on him, and I think he could even be considered a cash game option. I think his ownership is going to be a little bit lower because of that midfoot sprain concern, but all reports have been positive on him. All reports have been that he hasn't lost any sort of mobility, that he's looking good. So 7,900, I think, on Newton is a really, really good price on FanDuel.
Don't hold me to it, but I think my last show lineup, and this may change after lock, but FanDuel's got the tightest cap as far as I can tell. Like Yahoo, you make a beautiful team. DK, you make a beautiful team. Fantasy Draft, beautiful teams. It's hard to make a bad team, if we're being honest, unless you're like going way below salary. But Tuttle, as of right now, in some of my cash lineups on FanDuel, I have Nick Foles. It's cheap over there, and salary is kind of tough. And I want Trevor.
I think the only reason why you would play Nick Foles on FanDuel is if you want to not play Miami defense. Is basically the reason to do
Miami
it.
Defense.
Yeah, if you play Miami defense, then you can pretty much play whoever you want. On FanDuel, you have Chubb, you have Cook, you have Fournette, you have Eckler that are all 7,400 or below. I think cash game builds are going to have 3 of those 4 guys. I think cash game builds are going to have DJ Moore locked in at 6,200. You're going to have a quarterback in that 7K range unless you're going down to Foles, which then lets you play either Thielen or Tyreek Hill as one of your other receivers. So I do, like I said, and I kind of alluded to it, I think the FanDuel build is really straightforward. I do think Foles is semi in play on FanDuel again, but that would be essentially the thing that you would be upgrading on FanDuel would be defense.
You don't have McCaffrey. I mean, there's so many good running backs. We'll talk about that in a second. And that's sort of the tricky part with McCaffrey is, you raw points versus projected points or points per dollar, and eventually you got to spend the salary somewhere. And there's just so many good running backs. How about this? This is a general thought as far as building your lineups, Tuttle. Are you finding that most of your flex positions, especially in your cash games, are running backs?
Yeah, 100%. 100% running backs. And I'm already getting some guff about the Miami defense play. It's like people think that defensive scoring is predictive in any sort of way. It's not. I mean, are good spots obviously, but they're expensive. If you are in cash games, it's completely fine punting a defense if it gets you the upgrades you want. It's kind of one of those things that Lamar Jackson on the road, guy that turns the ball over a lot. Yes, the offense is supposed to be better, but they're really, really hyped on this offseason. He's a guy that will turn the ball over. It is what it is.
Yeah, I get the whole salary thing, and I totally get, like you said, highest variance position. I want my defense to be like thrown on, and that's your best chance for opportunity. Like sacks potentially, interceptions, pick sixes obviously, but like how much is Baltimore going to have to throw is sort of the question. And like, of course, it's possible Miami's up 14-0 in this game, and everything is just sort of flipped. Grant, what's your thoughts on this?
No, it's been a while since I talked. I thought you forgot about me.
I figured you're playing with your phone anyway.
Yeah, I definitely am. I'm playing some nice games on it. Got to waste my time somehow when you're talking. But as for Jackson, Jackson's very much in play. They have a decent enough implied team total here. He can obviously get the rushing yards. Nick Foles, I really like Nick Foles today. People forget how much of a run-first offense it was last year and the year before with Fournette in there, and then it's changed a little bit with Yeldon. and the offense just wasn't really put together fully. Nick Foles is a guy that can get the ball out quickly. So in full point PPR formats, it's a very easy way to stack them. Everyone's going to be going on DD, but they have a few different options that point per dollar could absolutely go off there, pairing Fournette and hoping that Foles dumps the ball off to him fairly often. It's not a bad idea. I forgot the rest of what you were talking about because you were going for so long. I know there's like 8 subjects in there.
I thought it was just a 2-man booth. I was having a good time. I don't know about Tuttle, and I see you whining about it in chat,
So that's the only reason you went back to me?
So yeah, that's right, Grant. Totally forgot about him. You can feel free to chime in at any point. We can kind of talk over each other, and it could be first take. That'd be fun.
I mean, I'm getting paid regardless of how much I talk.
You get paid?
I think so.
So we could talk about every single quarterback. Obviously, have to move on as far as running backs, Grant. But feel free to chime in as far how much are you prioritizing? You said you got 25. You're not playing everybody 10%. That doesn't work mathematically. It's 250%. That's not possible. Who do you have the most of, top 2 or 3 guys?
Top 2 or 3 guys. I mean, it's entirely slate dependent site dependent. Over on Yahoo, I think I have the most ownership in Kyler Murray. Over on most sites, actually, it's Kyler Murray, a little bit of Mahomes. Phillip Rivers is a guy that I'm well over the field on. We've seen so many times in the past him put up 400 yards. It's always a possibility in pretty much every single game. And going up against Indy, yes, they have a decent defense, but they also force a shallow depth of target, which is going to lead to a whole lot more receptions with possession guys like Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, who can get a whole bunch of jump balls, Hunter Henry passing ball off to Eckler. So in full point PPR formats, you can go with a 3-man, 4-man stack with San Diego, knowing that they're probably going to be ahead and rushing at the end of the game. But it's just an interesting spot here. I think that one of the best stacks on the board is strictly just Rivers, Eckler, Henry. Eckler can catch a passing touchdown. Henry can catch a passing touchdown. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen's prices are high enough where if they don't end up with a touchdown, then chances are they're probably not going to make value. So Rivers is the one guy that's kind of off the board that I have outside of Nick Foles. And as much as I absolutely hate it, Eli Manning.
Do you run back that Charger stack with T.Y.?
I don't think you need to. You can run it back with T.Y. You can run it back with Ebron, O'Doyle. Realistically, you have a whole bunch of options there, but I don't think it's necessarily a must-do because if you're stacking Rivers with Eckler, then chances are there's going to be they may be ahead at the end of the game and they're going to be rushing, but Rivers can put up 300 yards passing before they get up by too much there. So I don't think it's a necessity. I don't mind it. If I'm not using Eckler in a stack, then I for sure run it back with T.Y. But it's not a necessity by any means.
So, you still with us, Grant?
I'm here.
Grant, he had a whole monologue there. Feel free to give your final thoughts as far as quarterbacks and an open up running back, which we kind of already referenced it a couple times. It seems like it's just loaded today. Eckler was referenced there, of course. We don't really know exactly what he's going to get in the backfield. If nothing else, we're probably going to split as far as the runs and get the majority of the catches there for LA. Fournette, I'm like myself, more and more this week. I'm locked in more and more in Fournette. He's one of my favorite plays. I think he's priced down, and I like that matchup for he catches the extra passes as well. The backfield for Chubb seems to be cleared. Everybody loves Dalvin Cook. Carson seems to have separated himself from Penny in Seattle. There are so many good plays, Tuttle, as far as running back. You can only play so many, 3 or 4, depending on where you're shopping. How do we figure this out?
Yeah, I think there's probably – I haven't counted them up. There's probably about 6 guys that I think are viable for cash games at running back this week. Christian McCaffrey's one, Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, Chris Carson we talked about, and then Austin Eckler would be the 6th. I think those are the 6 guys that you kind of want to rotate through in cash games. Give and take salary here and there, depending on your lineup construction. If you have the extra money to get up to Christian McCaffrey, do so. He's a really good play, but you don't have to force him in on this slate just because there are some really good options elsewhere that are going to be cheaper. But then, off of that, we have a potential to expand our player pool for tournaments. I think there are some really good tournament options as well, where, again, we'll see ownership concentrated on guys like Dalvin Cook and Nick Chubb, I think, will probably be the heaviest owned running backs, potentially Austin Eckler. But outside of that, you got the high-priced backs that are going to go completely overlooked, like Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott. I think we just got a report that Elliott's expected to see significant workload, even though he's, obviously hasn't practiced in a long time. Well, or most of the preseason or off season. So all these guys are expected to also see significant workload, and nobody's going to have them. David Johnson's one of those guys. Todd Gurley, he's up in the air on exactly what his workload will be. But he had that hype video come out yesterday. He's had the talk that he's not going to be on any sort of pitch count or play count restriction. So Gurley makes for an excellent tournament option that nobody's going to have.
What's your official Gurley take?
I think he makes sense in tournaments, and I'll have him in some Rams-Panthers stacks.
I'm seeing 4.3% on Yahoo as far as ownership. And everybody's like, everybody's going to be 100% owned. It's just not possible. Again, with math, there's all these good plays, but you can't play them all. You reference Cook and Fournette and Eckler and Carson. I think David Johnson's kind of interesting for tournaments because who knows what Arizona's going to do. He might catch 10 passes. That wouldn't surprise me. Grant, how are we figuring this out? How are we minimizing? Obviously, in cash games, we're looking for, talent's nice, but volume's the most important thing, volume and opportunity. As far as a cash game perspective, who's your favorite running backs?
From a cash game perspective, it's pretty darn easy.
Is it, though? There's too many good ones. It's hard to whittle them down for me.
Not really. There's 5.
Okay.
It's Dalvin Cook, it's McCaffrey, it's Carson, it's Fournette, it's Eckler. All those guys are underpriced, or in McCaffrey's case, just enough upside there. So it's all what you want to do with your lineup. You figure out the rest of it, and you throw 3 of those guys in. It's that simple. Like, Dalvin Cook is the number 1 option. Carson's probably number 2, and then any of the other 3 is just whichever one fits into your lineup you throw in there. It's not that hard. You say,
well, the problem
that's a lot of options. It's 5 options, 4 of which you can play on Fantasy Draft, 3 of which you can play on every other site.
So who are you prioritizing? Or if it's you're figuring out other stuff first and then kind of getting the running backs out of your pool you love?
For cash, I'm prioritizing Cook. I'm prioritizing Carson. And then I'm fitting in whoever fits with my last one. And for tournaments, I don't need to prioritize any of them. Dalvin Cook's going to be insanely owned. So anytime you fade him, entirely fine. Go with any of those 5 guys. And then just the easy McCaffrey pivot is going to be Barkley, Elliott, or Bell, or Gurley. Any one of those guys is a fine pivot off of McCaffrey at way, way lower ownership. If you want to pivot off of Cook, you can go down to Carson or Eckler, or you can go further down and go with a guy like Kerryon Johnson. Is not a bad play. Going with David Johnson is one of my favorite plays on the entire board here. We saw what he was a few years ago. He's going in an offense where he's probably going to be a safety net and getting the ball dumped off to him. Everyone just remembers last year when he had McCoy as the offensive coordinator, wanted to run the ball. Guy doesn't know what he's doing, shouldn't have been in the league, or shouldn't have been coaching any team. And now he gets a guy that actually knows what he's doing and wants to run a pace offense. And David Johnson's going to be in for a huge workload. And in full point PPR, David Johnson might be the highest scoring running back this weekend.
I'm going to throw out some names. Just give me a number, Tuttle, 1 to 10. 10, you're interested. 1, you're not interested. Let's fire away with how about the San Francisco backfield? You can give me both if you want. Does one kind of stand out for you?
Tevin Coleman is the better tournament option, just because I think Breida is the guy that's getting all the hype.
Grant?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Breida, I think, got announced as number 1 on the depth chart, but it's really a timeshare. And Tevin Coleman, we've seen what he's done in the past over in Atlanta. He's the better back. He should be fine.
Tuttle, 1 to 10, Mark Ingram.
I'll put that at 5 because it's right in the middle. I have no idea what to do with it. I think theoretically he's a really good tournament option too to pair with the Ravens defense. I think there's a scenario here where he gets 20+ touches and nobody's going to have him.
Yeah, and then there's a scenario where Justice Hill breaks out, right? Which is like that's the other part of it. Who really knows? Grant, 1 to 10, Ingram.
5.
Take a stand. You guys are both neutral. Seriously? I'm the one supposed to not take a stand. Really?
Ingram is just he's the meh. He's the whatever. He can't elicit any more reaction than a neutral reaction.
How about Miles Sanders? Tuttle?
2.
Yeah, probably about the same.
Yeah. I'm it's kind of a wait and see mode, but he is super cheap. But again, there's a value to that position. That running back position looks really, really strong. Give me the biggest one off the board for you, Grant. You ran up some names as far as tournaments. Kerryon Johnson against Arizona could be interesting. I don't mind that stack with the defense either, because as Tuttle referenced, that defense for Detroit is supposed to be solid. We shall see. Kerryon Johnson 1 to 10 there, Grant.
Kerryon Johnson 7, but you want someone off the board that's going to potentially take down a tournament. It's Chris Thompson.
Okay. Tuttle.
I mean, like I get the reasoning behind it.
It's just a Washington showdown slate.
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm almost.
How many times have we seen Chris Thompson go off for like 70, 80 receiving yards with like 8 receptions? There's a game script that very much favors him.
Do you want a completely absurd take? If you're going to force me to play somebody in Washington, and again, if you're forcing me, dollar for dollar, and this probably depends on what site too, like Vernon Davis, hold your nose.
Trey Quinn.
Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, but
look, if you're playing Case Keenum, every single person you say to pair with him is going to be like, what?
You already lost. You said you're playing Case Keenum.
Oh, gosh.
I have a decent amount of Case Keenum. You know why? Because I can stack up the game.
He's one of your 25?
Huh?
I thought he's one of your 25 quarterbacks?
He is one of my 25. If you haven't figured out, I think I have a lineup with every single quarterback across all sites.
Except one.
No.
Yeah.
I think the answer was actually 24.
Okay.
One.
I've got Brian Hoyer on some lineups just in case Brissett gets hurt.
That's sharp. Oh my god! But this show is officially derailed. Tuttle, give me somebody like we mentioned, a lot of names. How about Zeke? Because Zeke is a guy that nobody wanted to play wait and see mode. Earlier in the week, they said, 25 touches. There was a report of that, and now the report is, I think Jason Lockenford basically said he's going to get his normal reps. On the other side, Barkley too. Barkley's matchup proof. Unless the game is 38-7, he's going to be doing everything based on that New York offense. Your take on the running backs in that game?
Yeah, I mean, fine. Really low owned tournament options, for sure, and they're obviously extremely talented. So fine going there in tournaments. I'm not overly excited about it. I think a guy that potentially might be a little bit of a gainer in this morning news cycle. We saw LaShawn McCoy. I think it was 15 to 20 snaps is what they're thinking for McCoy this week. And if that's the case, Damian Williams, potentially seeing 60, 70% of the workload out of the backfield there for Kansas City, which is, one of the higher scoring games on the slate. I think Damian Williams has kind of been on a roller coaster ride where he's now, everybody's down on him. And again, if he sees 70% of the work in the backfield for the Chiefs this week, which is it's kind of looking that way, then I think he could be a decent tournament option. That's probably going to be 5% or less.
Yeah, I would say it's under 5%. Just because there's so many good running backs out there. We got to jump the receiver. Specific to Yahoo, love the Kenny Galladay price, just $5 above the floor, $15 in that matchup versus Arizona, which in theory, Arizona will be playing faster, so Detroit should get some more. Traditionally they play fairly slow, so maybe they'll get a few extra plays in there. Everybody's favorite darling. Have you heard Chris Godwin's going to break out this year, Tuttle? Have you heard that or no?
I wasn't aware, no.
Chris Godwin might be the worst tournament play on the slate.
Go on.
Everyone's just got such a big hard-on for him for no reason.
Well, there's a legitimate reason. They've lost 2 receivers in that team, so somebody's got to pick up the slack as far as the distribution.
I get that, but they still have Mike Evans, who should be fine. They still have O.J. Howard. Everyone's so darn excited about Godwin. You're playing a 30% owned wide receiver who has potential to absolutely get shut down on a slate where there's tons of mispricings all over the place. I get everyone loves Godwin, but this is football, especially with a wide receiver. Anything can happen. If he gets 100 yards and no touchdown, he's not going to win you a GPP. And if he's 30% owned, why would you do that? Let's just look at other guys in the same price range. Lockett, Jeffrey, Boyd, Kupp, Landry, Woods, Cooks, Hilton. Any one of those guys could easily outscore Godwin.
Who's your favorite of that group?
I mean, Lockett, just because everything's going to be so concentrated on him. But realistically, would you be surprised if any of those guys had over 100 yards and 1 to 2 touchdowns?
No, Tuttle, you wouldn't either, right?
Oh.
Do you have kids in the background? What's going on with the mic? It's coming on and coming off. Because is that what's going on here?
No, they're actually they're not loud, but it's a habit I have during shows just to make sure no external noise comes in.
Fair enough. Tuttle, what's your thoughts as far as Godwin? How about pivoting to Evans, who's like he's gonna have ownership as well too, but maybe his ownership takes a slight hit because he was like sick, right? He wasn't just ill. Is that the problem?
Yeah, I don't think he won't be too heavily owned. I think he's a fine tournament option more so than cash. Use him as leverage off of Godwin if you want to do so. The thing is, it's not like he's got any sort of discount. We already talked about all these players that are probably a little bit too underpriced for their expected role, and he's not underpriced for his expected role really on any site. So yeah, he's a fine tournament option, but I don't think I would venture there in cash games at all.
What about Thielen? The Diggs they talk about, like it's no secret as far as his splits whenever he's coming into a game injured. His splits aren't very good, and they're not very deep as far as receiver either. I know Minnesota, probably wants to run the ball more than most teams, but Thielen, of course, especially last year, the first half of the season, he was awesome. He feels, I don't want to say safe, but he feels like a guy who's just going to get a ton of targets. I like him on the turf as well too against Atlanta. Julio on the other side got paid. He's a nice play as well too. I know people were talking about the Rhodes on the other side. Rhodes kind of fell back, and I just don't obsess over wide receiver, cornerback matchup charts. I think they're sort of interesting to some degree, but I think we kind of react to it too much as well as a collective. Tuttle, some tournament plays at receiver. Who do you have for me? Thoughts on those guys? Feel free to add to the conversation.
Yeah, tournament guys. So even guys that we haven't talked about that are cash game options. I think on DraftKings you have D.D. Westbrook, who's only 4,800. You have Curtis Samuel, who's only 4,200. On the expert survey I wrote this week, I have Marvin Jones as one of my favorite salary or cheap tournament options. I think this Arizona defense is just going to be absolutely terrible. No Patrick Peterson this week. You mentioned Galladay's price tag on Yahoo, though. That's insane. I think there's only a $1 price difference between Marvin and Galladay on Yahoo, which makes Galladay definitely the superior play. I think if you think the Lions offense does get paced up a little bit in this game, that you can completely run Stafford, Galladay, Marvin Jones stacks. So I think that's fine. I think that's fun in tournaments. Pretty decent potential there. I think one of the bigger decision points, you already mentioned it, in cash games this week is, do we play Adam Thielen or not? I think that is an interesting decision both on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo. On FanDuel, we have the Tyreek Hill that's right in the same price range as Thielen, which I think you can do so. I think you can play Thielen, or I think you can play Tyreek Hill in both cash games and tournaments. On FanDuel specifically, Hill's not really a guy that I'm targeting cash games anywhere else, but I think that price tag on FanDuel is nice. Other tournament options, Dante Pettis is a buy low candidate. We talked a lot about that San Francisco-Tampa Bay game, how we think that's going to be a shootout. Pettis has kind of got the downplay all off season because he's running deep in preseason games, blah, blah, blah. It actually, to me, comes across as kind of more of a tough love situation where Shanahan's just trying to light a fire underneath him. I think he's still going to have a big role in that San Francisco offense. So Pettis is a tournament option for me. And then potentially one of my favorite mid-tier tournament options is Sammy Watkins for the Chiefs. Again, Kansas City, one of the higher team totals on the entire slate. Do think this game's going to be a high-scoring affair. Watkins has shown some upside in the past. I think against the Jaguars last season, he had a pretty decent performance. I believe it was like a 6 or 7 catch, 80-yard performance. Somewhere around there. He has topped 100 yards, a couple touchdowns in games last season. So the upside's there for Watkins if things breaks his way. He's a good leverage play off the higher-owned Hill, off the higher-owned Kelsey. He also is a good addition to game stacks.
Yeah, that stack you're talking about as far as Detroit, by the way, it's really, really cheap on Yahoo. 26 for Stafford, which is like one above 25, which is essentially their floor. You talked about Jones being $14, $4 above the floor, and the other side, with Galladay, just $5 above it. Gotta like that Detroit stack for sure. And, of course, they're on a dome and against an Arizona team that has we're suspect about it, if nothing else. Is Samuel good chalk or bad chalk total?
He is okay chalk on DraftKings. Yeah, you don't need him necessarily to make your DraftKings lineup construction, but there are constructions where you could run out both Dede and Curtis Samuel, which I think is okay. I'm not as high on Samuel on like a FanDuel where he's $5,900 and DJ Moore is only $300 more. I think DJ Moore's pretty easily the better play there on FanDuel. So I think he's okay chalk on DraftKings. If you think he's going to be high owned elsewhere, I'm not as interested.
Yeah, and Samuel Moore, the same price on Yahoo. They're both $16, so I'm with you. I prefer Moore over Samuel here, but we live in the world with salary cap on DK. Samuel distinctly cheaper than Moore. Jump in here, Grant. There were so many names that were thrown out there. Feel free to kind of elaborate on any of those guys that were thrown out there, but feel free to add some names to the conversation too, because there's so many out there that we haven't even touched on.
Yeah, I'm not going to elaborate. Just going to throw some guys out there. Sterling Shepard should be one of the main targets in the offense. It's not a very good offense, but still volume equals money most of the time. So he's a good option. John Brown over in Buffalo, going to be 4.3K. Josh Allen likes to throw the ball deep. Let's see, who else? DK Metcalf, going to be 1% owned. He can't make a cut, but he can get a 80-yard reception at any given time. Dude has speed, and he's big, and can get jump balls. Russell Wilson has the ability to pinpoint a ball into place 50 yards down the field all the time. We saw it with one of the highest completion percentages, over 30 yards between a quarterback and wide receiver last year with Tyler Lockett. So saying that Metcalf is just too big to make a cut, that doesn't really matter if he's just stretching the field here. Adam Humphries, you can make fun of me again, but I'm still going to play a decent amount of him. And then, that's it. We've mentioned enough wide receivers. There's a boatload more, but that's pretty much it. Any of the Washington wide receivers or any of the Jaguars wide receivers, all in play because someone's going to do something.
Yeah, that's dynamite analysis. But you're right. Somebody's going to definitely do something. And I think it's best if we just kind of yield the questions from the chat and see what's on their mind, and just kind of save some time there. So, any receivers that pop up then during the question and answer session, then we can kind of sort of elaborate to some degree. Let's jump to tight ends. Obviously, Kelsey, the biggest name on the board, best one of the tight ends pretty deep with on this slate. You're not really missing any of the good names necessarily. I'm pulling up the ownership right now as we speak as far as the tight ends. And, Kelsey's $27 on Yahoo, pricey all around the industry. Ingram should get a fair share of targets. They're going to be behind, presumably, there against Dallas. Ertz is one of those guys on Philly, and you're not getting a big enough discount for me to play him in cash, but for sure in tournaments, Ertz can definitely get in the box a couple times. Tuttle, specific to DK, you got Hunter Henry is just a little bit too cheap. So that's sort of where I'm at on my cash game build on DK. It's like, well, do I want Henry or do I want a Kelsey? And I think that's amongst the big decisions on the slate today for cash. I think that's one of them. I think McCaffrey or like three mid-tier guys is another one. Have you taken a stand on that? Have you decided, or are you doing something else at tight end?
Haven't completely decided, but it's exactly like you said on DraftKings. I think it's either Hunter Henry or Travis Kelsey. I think Henry is probably going to be higher owned on DraftKings, just because he certainly is underpriced on DraftKings for his role. It's just, I think the only reason why Travis Kelsey is really in the conversation is just because of how good he is. And he is a really good option. I think the more common construction on DraftKings is going to be Henry and then a little bit higher priced receiver. But I think Kelsey's completely in play on DraftKings. FanDuel, you're playing Kelsey, easy game. Fantasy draft, the one guy that stuck out who's on their main slate, Vance McDonald, I think is probably like the cheapest you could go on fantasy draft. He's $6,200. Some talk that he's not going to see an expanded role there with Pittsburgh, even though it seemed like he was going to, but it's still a good matchup for him. And then on Yahoo, I think there's not really anyone that stands out as underpriced for me. Hunter Henry is way priced up there at $20. Fine tournament option, but I wouldn't touch that in cash games. So since nobody's standing out is underpriced, I would go with Travis Kelsey in cash games there too.
I pulled it up. I'm jumping around. I'm not sure if Devin's at the screen share work, and I presume he does. But I jumped the DK as far as our ownership projections, and you're right. Henry right now leading the charge, 19.10% as far as the highest guy because, he's 3.9K, whatever, seems too cheap. And then Kelsey's next at 15.9. And that flips on Yahoo for sure, as we kind of referenced. Kelsey right now is the highest owned guy. And then Howard and Ingram, Jamito not taking a stand either because they're both $19 and he's got 15% each. Grant, I don't really have a favorite amongst that group, and I'm kind of chopping them away as well. Howard versus Ingram, do you have a take?
Howard versus Ingram, I'd probably go whoever's in my stack, but probably go with OJ Howard, just overall fantasy points. I think you probably see similar ownership, so I'm just going with Howard. But yeah, going between Kelsey, Kittle, Ertz, Howard, Ingram, Henry, I'm just mixing and matching them. If you want some people off the board, Kyle Rudolph going up against Atlanta, where they can get a whole bunch of short passes here, and Rudolph does have multiple touchdown upside going up against a very bad defense. Austin Hooper, a guy that could be in for a big year this year at just 3.2K if you want to pay down. Njoku on certain sites like Yahoo where he's only $10. And if you want the balls out play, it's Disley. If you don't remember what he was doing before he got injured last year, he was putting up massive numbers, and then he got injured. Seahawks don't really have a whole lot of options. They're projected to blow out this Cincinnati team. Disley has a connection with, what's his name, Russell Wilson, who he has that random connection with all sorts of tight ends throughout the years. He had that with Luke Wilson. He had that with one other guy. Didn't have it with Graham for some reason, but that was because he was always injured. Like, he likes to throw to his tight end, and with the lack of wide receiver depth over in Seattle, Disley has a chance for a massive game. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he went for 80 yards and a touchdown, just because he did that multiple times last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, he got hurt like week 4, week 5 or something like that. But, yeah, he definitely flashed for sure. And another guy looks good in the uniform, and he's got like a good hurdle. He's a good athletic freak. I don't know if you get any fantasy points for that, but everybody's talking about T.J. Hawkinson for Detroit as at least a great athlete. You don't get fantasy points for that, but just definitely.
I don't feel like that's the same as the Eric Ebron scenario.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm in wait and see mode, but like I hear you. Yeah, who knows? Tuttle, we're going to move on to questions and answers in just a second, but feel free to finalize tight end thoughts if you have anything else to throw out there. I know Andrews was a guy. If you guys played the old best ball, he was popular, and then he didn't get enough run in the preseason. And if you're going to pair somebody with L-Jax, it's probably Andrews, maybe. I don't know. Anything else here as far as tight ends?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Let's get those questions going. 12 minutes before we step aside and make way for the 2 premium shows. All right. Let's talk about, defense. Let's appease defense. I know, Tuttle, you're all over Miami and that's not a salary decision. That's because you think the Dolphins today, they're going to resurrect the 72 Dolphins and they're going to.
Yeah, exactly. Play them everywhere in every lineup. Who cares if they're the most expensive defense on the site? Play them. No, Dolphins D, completely only a FanDuel thing and a lineup construction thing. Completely understand if you don't want to play them. It's an ugly play. Not playing them anywhere else. Other defenses that are much better plays, but also more expensive. Obviously, Baltimore is good. Eagles are good. Browns are good. Eagles, Browns specifically have really good pass rush matchups where racking up sacks is going to be really high, good opportunity. Ravens playing a team whose quarterback turns the ball over an absolute ton. Eagles, Browns, again, facing teams that are likely going to be playing from behind. They have to drop back to pass, more turnovers, especially when they're playing behind bad O-lines. So I think the 3 most expensive defenses in most places with the Ravens, Eagles, and Browns are 3 of the top defenses on this slate. If you have the money, go for it. If you don't have the money, like on FanDuel, you could play Dolphins D. If you don't have the money on DraftKings, Dolphins are there again at 2,100. Not that I like it. Buccaneers are at 2,200. You can do worse things than play these defenses just because of their price tags.
That was pretty succinct. Anything to add there, Grant?
Chargers, Browns, Bills.
I would say just Detroit. I'm playing both sides of that. I got Murray, and I also have Detroit defense. In different iterations, it can go either way. I have no idea. I'm not convinced that, I know what's going to happen there. All right, bunch of questions loading up. Before we do that, your favorite stack or 2, Grant? You can give me a chalky one, and you can give me one off the board.
Buffalo and San Diego.
Okay,
Sorry. Los Angeles Chargers.
Is that Allen and Brown? I don't want to make your stack for
Allen, Brown, Beasley.
Yeah, I like Brown as a homer hitter as well. What's your thoughts here, Tuttle, as far as some stacks?
We're going off the board?
Either or. Be as ambitious as you want to be.
Not completely off the board, but I do think I like the Panthers as a stack. If I'm going off the board stack, it's a little bit more difficult. Lions would be that, I guess, if you consider them off the board.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't want to go with the Case Keenum, Chris Thompson stack. That's not for you?
Yeah, I'm going to pass on that one.
It's a callback for those.
Well, thank you for letting me win all the money.
Let me ask you this, Tuttle. This is actually in the expert survey, and your boldest fade. Who's the guy you're most afraid on being like 2 underweight on?
My boldest fade. You'd actually have to remind me who I answered in that question.
I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. I figured you. I know it's.
I thought I would have it in front of me too.
As far as pumping out content, it's been a long week.
I think I probably put Zeke on there, which is any of these non-chalk running backs are kind of the scary fade. We already mentioned Zeke, Saquon. They're both going to be completely under-owned, but also guys with massive workloads that are extremely talented.
How about yourself, Grant? Who's your biggest sphincter clincher as far as guys you might be underweight on?
Probably, what's his name? Got his name. Oh, Godwin.
Yeah. You said you don't like the chalk there, and if he goes for 150 and 2, which is certainly possible, but like you said, like he can go 6 for 70 and not score a touchdown, and like who cares? You don't have him, you're perfectly fine. You're probably ahead of the game. Not that he's smashing, crushing your lineup, but you're not actually making a move on the field either, especially with them being expected to be fairly heavily owned. Lots of questions here on the YouTube. If you guys are watching us on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. We much appreciate that. Let's try to make this as fast as possible because I have a ton of questions. I'm scrolling up and trying to find them. Grant, Sonny Michel or Carson?
Carson.
Tuttle, I'm going to jump back and forth. So, Tuttle, you're second. Grant, you're first. Tuttle, you're batting now. Nick Foles versus Winston and Cash.
Winston. I mean, it's a 2v2, though. It should be.
Yeah, I presume that's the case there. Big Ben versus Breeze. I assume this is a Yahoo question, Grant.
Breeze.
We didn't talk about Baker Mayfield or Beckham, and that's my bad. That's our bad because I love that combination for tournaments. Baker versus Winston, Tuttle.
Cash Winston.
Oh, Baker's he's gonna put like 4 touchdowns on the board. America's team, the Cleveland Browns. Pick 2 of these, Grant. Elliott, Duke, White, or Breida in PPR.
Elliott, Duke.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. This is just for you, Tuttle. The old onslaught, San Francisco onslaught. Jimmy with Kittle, Pettis, Breida, and Godwin. Is that too much?
Not too much. No, you're good.
Westbrook versus Boyd.
Boyd.
With the Heat in the Jacksonville game, is Fournette a fade? I have not looked at that. I mean, is that a Weather Edge question? I'm not really sure. Roth, of course, is doing Weather Edge as well. If you guys are Premium members, you get access to that. But
I mean, realistically, it makes Fournette a little bit more tired, but it also makes the defense more tired. They're going to be worn down, and Fournette's used to it because he plays in Jacksonville.
Okay, it's Tuttle's turn, but this is a Grant question because it's going to put him to the test. It's Sophie's choice. Fitzpatrick or Allen for Cash? The answer is neither, but go ahead and answer the question. For Cash, it's neither. But
I'd rather do Josh Allen in Cash.
Okay, yeah.
The answer is neither.
We're not playing those guys in Cash, right?
No.
Okay. Tuttle, is Evans worth playing coming off the flu, 87 degrees? I have not dug into the weather in that game. And
the weather's the talk of Twitter right now, it seems to be.
What am I missing? What's going on as far as
it's just really hot and humid.
Well, is it surprising it's hot in Tampa at this time of year? But
no.
Amari Cooper or Mike Evans? Grant.
Evans.
Greg Olsen versus Hooper in PPR. Ooh, I'll take Hooper if you force me, right, Tuttle? Yes, maybe?
I think I'd go Olsen.
Yeah? Okay. Break the tie.
If he can make it out of the week 1 for the
big if
first time in 3 years.
Grant, break the tie as far as Hooper versus Olsen.
Hooper.
Grant, we have apparently season-long players that are jumping in here because sit one of these dudes. Full point PPR, Chubb, Fournette, Bell, and McCaffrey. How is that? What was it, a 3-team league?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Probably Fournette.
Somebody's screwing with us. D-Train, you got to vet these questions. Who's got the best matchup in your opinion, Tuttle? Just anything.
That's the question.
I'm Ron Burgundy. I see the question. I read the question.
Who has the best matchup?
Any match. Just name a good matchup.
Once against the Redskins.
There you go.
Answer's Jacksonville.
Grant, Pettis versus Sanu in the flex spot.
Pettis.
Yeah. Oh, this is a Tuttle question. Cincinnati or Miami defense?
Jesus. Miami.
It's very clearly Miami.
Reverse Sophie's choice. Grant, Godwin versus Edelman.
Edelman.
Njoku versus Olsen. That's got to be Njoku, right there, Tuttle?
Yeah, Njoku.
Ravens D or Seahawks D?
Seahawks.
Would anyone play J.C. Ortega Whiteside? Tuttle, that's too ambitious, is it not?
Yeah, too ambitious.
Too ambitious for me. Grant, Evans or Godwin?
Evans.
Would you flex Sanders? I don't know. What are the options? Maybe. Well, let's just talk about the Philadelphia backfield as a generality, because there's still like too many guys there.
I thought they were going with Emmanuel Sanders.
Oh, any Sanders would you flex? Colonel.
Emmanuel, yeah.
I'd flex the Colonel.
He's defying odds. Well, it's not, because Manning plays on Monday night, so it's probably not Manning, unless it's a season long, so it doesn't really matter. But dude's coming back from Achilles at 32 years old. And math says, science says that's probably not supposed to happen. Supposedly he looks great in preseason for whatever reason.
Science says that we've made drastic improvements over the whole course of the last 10 years in repairing both Achilles and ACLs.
Neil deGrasse Tyson over here. Well, actually, well played. Justin Jackson thoughts? My thoughts on Jackson Tuttle are more like I'm concerned how much he affects Eckler as opposed to actually playing Jackson.
Yeah, Justin Jackson's too thin in any format on this slate where we have awesome options.
Disagree.
Yeah. You're playing some Jackson?
I'm playing some Jackson.
I mean,
right.
you're basically hoping that his 10 touches turns into a couple touchdowns is like your upside, which
more like
is
10
fine, but
rushes and 5 receptions. But yeah.
Gurley and Fournette versus CMC and Carrion.
Second one.
All right, Tuttle. Dede, Foles, and Fournette. Is that too much Jacksonville? I don't think so.
that's not too much. I wouldn't feel all that comfortable going through Jacksonville in cash, but it's fine.
Grant, we got a flex question. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you off. We got Ridley, Murray, or Drake. You love the Drake?
I love Ridley.
Geis or Mack, Tuttle?
Who?
Geis, or I guess Mack, not Indianapolis, I presume.
Marlon Mack.
Anderson, Lockett, or Diggs?
Lockett.
Should I bench Diggs for Samuels or Murray, Tuttle? Probably not. If you're playing a season long, you probably still play Diggs over those guys, right, Tuttle?
Yeah, I think so.
Grant, DJ Moore versus Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones.
Grant, this is another question for you. Does Fitzpatrick to Wilson win all the money? Because
very easily could.
I like Wilson a little bit as a cheapie. If you're going to force me to play a Dolphin, Tuttle, I think it's Wilson. That's where I'm at least.
Yeah, I know. Actually, Cardi's projections, the blitz, like Albert Wilson. I saw that.
Can I play him in cash on FanDuel? Because I'm staring at that. I'm like, maybe.
I don't think you can, no.
Well, I'm not playing the Dolphins for the record, so I gotta say no.
If it's Dolphins D or Albert Wilson in FanDuel cash, I am playing Dolphins D 100 out of 100 times.
Jordan Howard versus Geis, Grant.
Howard.
I don't like either of those options. Tuttle, do you have a take on that?
Yeah, who was it, Howard or Geis?
Yeah, I'll take
Geis. Geis is going to have the workload, but Howard has the more likelihood of, I think, scoring.
Delanie Walker on DK. Tuttle.
He's not necessary.
Let's just thoughts on tight ends in general. I think you kind of stick to the 6, right? For the most part, because you have the salary to do it. Generally speaking, that's most of my lineups, Tuttle. Is that where you're at too? Yeah,
I mean, he's only would be a candidate if you're trying to stack that Browns game and are trying to come back, then that would be about the only reason why I would play Walker.
I'm still 5 minutes behind Chad. DB, who's in Jacksonville, says it's crazy hot there for what it's worth. We do have a step aside. We got premium coming up. If you guys are premium members, you get to watch. It's Tip and Pick from Football Guys. It's what else we have? Oh, SDL cards. It's Brit, and then after that, 12:30 on the East Coast, all after lock. You got JSU Rab answering all your questions as well. Grant, give me an ambitious, bold call. Who's winning all the money today? Somebody a little bit less ambitious than Chris Thompson, a little bit more ambitious than Cook.
Josh Allen stack for the win. See you guys.
Walk off. What do you have for me, Tuttle? See that and raise it.
I got nothing that ugly. I'll just ride on to or go with Marvin Jones.
I got Ljax for 100 yards on the ground. He's going to score a touchdown as well too. Like him a good bit. I believe I'm all alone. I think it's just me in the show, but hope you all thoroughly enjoyed it. Again, stay tuned. More football if you guys are premium members. Sign up for Yahoo. I'm checking it right now. I know we have to get out of here and step aside and make way, but I just want to do a refresh one last time. Yahoo, the sponsor of the show. Thank you for sponsoring the show. And we're still $1 million as far as the tournament. $25 jump in there, no management fee, and there's 17,000 spots remaining. That's way too much. Sign up. And Florida, you can play now, just so you know. He's Tuttle. He's Grant. At least they were. I'm definitely Dean. Enjoy your football today. We're out of here. Holler.